Hello again, friends! And you are, there's the echo, and you are our friends. Welcome back to another edition of Jim Cornette's Drive Thru. We are still in the summertime, although you can listen to us whenever you wish. I'm your host, the great Brian Last. Reviews, questions, rants. I'm hitting my hand. The audio's a mess. Here he is, Mr. Messy himself, Jim Cornette.
In the good old summertime, in the good old summertime, Brian Last will be crazy in the good old summertime. Because, folks, we got a ghost in the machine here today. I'm saying we throw the doors open and we leave this out there in the podcasting world for our tremendous audience of trained professionals. They're brilliant people. They're graduates of major universities. They use their left and right turn indicators. The cult of Cornette. Somebody's going to know what the fuck is going on. Because, folks, I'm going to tell you what we have been arguing about and flummoxing about for the last, 15 minutes is somehow on the Skype connection what we got here. Brian Last can no longer on his end, which is his end is the important end. See, mine is just the ancillary end, but your end is the important end because the recording apparatus is over there. And I don't think it's a revelation to tell anybody that I shouldn't be allowed in charge of any of the technology here. You'd never hear this program.
Yeah, Tom Dowd over there.
Well, for some reason, I'm now going to play my wah, 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 wah sound effect on my sound effect machine that I do quite regularly around here. I'm going to do it in 3, 2, 1. I just played it, Brian Last. Did you hear it?
I heard the very, very beginning of it. The wah. The first wah, and then it went away.
But it's wah, wah, wahing over here. I'll try it again.
Same thing. This is the way it's supposed to sound.
Yes, and that's the way it sounds over here in the castle, in my room, in my office, on my apparatus. But you aren't hearing that. And it's apparently not going on tape either. Because I'll do it again. Whole thing. I could do that one tab out.
Yeah, you can play whatever you want. We're not hearing it.
See, I just belched at you. And how can this happen?
I have no idea what you have done now.
We are, but now, see, I played the belch thing.
It goes, play whatever you want. No one's hearing it.
But the thing is, how about the glass breaking?
No.
See, it's all kinds of glasses breaking over here. So somehow, the question is this happening? Trained professionals out there who do audio for a living, or possibly the president of Skype. I got a Stewie machine here. See if you hear this. Did you hear that?
I did. It sounded muffled, like you were kind of putting your hand over his mouth or something.
Well, that's because it's still in the package, so it sounds muffled. But
that's not a good thing to test this with, then.
Well, but it's the only other thing I got that'll make noise besides my own fucking mouth.
Clap your hands. Let me hear a clap.
What? I just clapped.
I didn't hear it.
Wait, I'll clap 3 times. I just clapped 3 times.
I've not heard a goddamn thing.
I'm clapping right in front of the fucking microphone. What the fuck? My hands hurt now, and I'm clapping in front of the microphone like an idiot, like a circus seal.
What have you done to the microphone?
Can you hear me speaking?
I can hear that, unfortunately, but it's everything else.
What the fuck is going on here? You just wah-wah-wah-wah'd me. I can hear your wah-wah-wah-wah.
See, this happened on the show. Your sound effects always worked, and then like a week ago on the show, you did that, and I thought it was dying. I thought your machine was dying, so I did it back to you, and it turned out, no, you were playing it, and it worked fine.
And I thought you were fucking with me, that you couldn't hear the thing that I was plainly doing. Wah-wah-wah. Okay, I'll do it. Wah-wah-wah-wah. Did you hear that?
Maybe we can make a little machine that could play that.
Now I'll do it on the machine.
Yeah, we heard the very beginning.
Same goddamn thing.
You did something. What did you click something? Did you?
I'm clapping right now, right into the microphone. I'm just slapping my hands together over and over while I'm talking. You don't hear the clapping?
This is insane. I don't hear any of the clapping.
Oh, you motherfuckers.
Can you snap your finger? Motherfuckers, there are multiple people.
Well, I'm snapping my fingers. I'm screaming like a chicken. Here's more snapping.
I heard that.
Are you hearing the snapping? Or are you hearing the crowing?
I've heard snapping and crowing, but no clapping.
I just clapped some more.
I didn't hear any of your clap. Your clap is crap.
I'll clap farther back. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear that. You're no boogeyman.
I'm clapping 3 feet from the microphone.
You don't really have a ruler, but I still didn't hear that.
Oh, God damn it.
Did you kick your computer? Did you throw something at it? Did you dump a Sprite on the top of it out of anger or something?
How do you selectively make the computer only pick up certain noises? How do you type that into the Google machine?
I don't know.
And see, you're the one that's always been accused of me every time. For the past several months, your mouth noises, you're clicking or you're breathing. It's like you can hear my fucking heartbeat. I'm 2 feet from the microphone, and now I'm goddamn throttling a fucking chicken right in front of the microphone, and you can't fucking hear it at all.
No chicken.
Is this are you gaslighting me, as like the kids say? Are you Charles Boyer and I'm Ingrid Bergman?
Explain gaslighting to the audience.
I don't know. It's been 25 years since I saw the fucking movie. He was trying to drive her crazy, and the fucking gaslight came from where the light would go down in her bedroom because he was upstairs in the attic to nefarious ends. I don't remember the rest of the goddamn movie.
All right.
No, it's your show, but you can't hear all of my part of the show. You're compromising here my wacky, zany morning zoo style of comedy. If you can't hear all the fucking sound effects that I'm playing now,
what was that? Was that train tracks?
That's the glass breaking fucking sound effect.
So are you running on the train tracks like a train?
Well, I'm playing the glass breaking sound effect while I'm talking. Can you hear that?
Yeah, it's now messing up your audio.
Oh, for God's sake. All right. We're going to get Hotchkiss Featherbottom over here.
You're no Steve Austin. Stop breaking the glass.
Well, anyway, it's your show. But I'm a willing servant of you. You know, I forgot to mention one thing on the last experience we did, and more than ever, I see that this is true also. If the people knew the demands that you and I had on our time over the last little while in our personal lives, they would understand why sometimes we're a little verklempt on the program. But Kevin Sullivan, I forgot to mention this when we were talking about him, said the greatest thing to me on the phone about 3 or 4 years ago when, however, the subject came up, but we weren't as young as we used to be, right? Kevin said, Jimmy, I can't do the accent. Now I go to bed when I used to go out, and I get up when I used to come in. So it's what you got to look forward to, pal.
All right. That was a motivational quote from Kevin Sullivan.
You'll
kill the pace of the show. Good job,
You'll understand. You'll understand one of these days.
Can't we keep arguing about audio? The show was moving at that point.
Oh, we're moving us straight into the fucking porcelain throne is where it was going. See, you need to get this stuff cleared up on your end, I think, because I'm performing over here with all these accompaniments and sound effects, musical instruments. Possibly, have I blown one of the sensors or what's the frequency, Kenneth, or the fractitudes on the microphone by singing? Have I got one of those operatic voices where when I hit the high note, the window breaks and the fucking microphone blows?
The real swerve is that you've been playing the organ the whole time, not me.
No, I've only been playing with one organ. You're all over the fucking board there, pal. You're an organ whore.
Organ whore.
An organ whore. You are all over the organ with no fucking thought to a good monogamous key there.
An organ whore. That's what they used to call the girls that hung out in the Portland area. Organ whore.
Hey, now wait a minute. Are you talking about Portland, Maine or Portland, Oregon?
I'm talking about, this is your show.
No, it's not. You keep trying to fucking foist it off on me.
Come on.
For heaven's sake, all right.
Things are moving along swimmingly,
They're
folks.
moving along swimmingly. I'll try to not do any entertaining sound effects or in other ways, do something that won't make it to air.
If this is fun here to listen to, when do you see it on the live tour coming to your area sometime soon?
And here's another thing. Is this what you have got me over the last, I don't know how long, afraid of my own shadow? You have given me PTSD, podcast traumatic stress syndrome, to where I'm making all these noises and you can hear your heart is beating too loud, Jim. I can hear the saliva clicking in your cavernous mouth, Jim.
I don't think that's audio issues. I think that's dental issues.
I think it's goddamn your issues. It's not even your super hearing. You've got some kind of half-price Mickey Mouse audio setup over there. I'm 2 feet back from the microphone, and you claim you can hear my fucking blood pulsing in my veins.
I appreciate you.
And it don't even pulse as hard as it used to.
I appreciate you acknowledging my super hearing. That's progress.
But no answer to the accusations that were thrown your way just now.
I object.
Boy, you're no Stephen P. New. But anyway, so I'm gonna let it all hang out here today. I'm gonna belch and fart and whistle and click and play with my pen. Hear that? See?
Oh, come on.
Put the cap back on the pen.
See, your audio issues make it sound like you're blowing the pen. It just sounds awful.
I'm putting the cap back on the pen. There you go. I've done whatever you're hearing. I can't, but I'm gonna just be me here today. So that's what you got to deal with. All right, go ahead.
Go ahead. What?
Go ahead and do the show. I'll follow along. I'm the sidekick here.
This is Jim Cornette's Drive Thru. Of course, I'm the host, but the star is the one people really want to hear. The man who stirs the drink and makes all that noise on the air, Mr. Jim Cornette. So now I'm giving you a second intro, I'm giving you a second chance to just run with it, have a great time, make it your own.
You think we can make something out of this at this point?
I don't know.
We're gonna talk about some of the wrestling that happened. I'm kind of getting ticked off at the WWE, specifically at the crew on Raw. Because they're trying to make Raw good enough that you actually have to watch much of it, which I'm not used to, and I don't have these are demands on my time that I cannot meet now. But goddamn it, they're taking a swing at it, aren't they? Even for 3 hours, they're putting some shit on there that more than one thing that you need to kind of pay attention to. What did you think?
And this is pissing you off, you said. I guess let's talk about Raw now. This was Raw for...
Well, that's the first thing that happened since I talked to you last.
That was Raw for the 12th, I believe. The 12th of August.
Yes, the 12th of never.
They've been doing better shows. There are still moments and segments that I know I could leave the room and wait like 6 minutes, 7 minutes or so before I come back.
Maybe even the house. Leave the house.
Maybe even leave the house. But this specific Raw that we're talking about, this week's Raw, I thought had one of the best openings in a while, and I loved it. I was like a mark for this entire segment, and I really liked it.
Well, they had hooked me even before that started because they were in Austin, Texas, sold out whatever the building is down there, 13,000 people in Austin, Texas. Now, this is getting ridiculous because, and me, Mr. Territory Days, rah, right? I worked Austin, Texas for World Class Wrestling, the Von Erichs in 1985. It was a shit building. I think we had about 800 people. But I don't remember hearing, has this happened before that they have drawn 13,000 people in Austin, Texas? That's a anyway. So apparently, there's nothing wrong with their audio setup. People are hearing them just fine. And the first segment was Rhea Ripley. She comes out, and did you notice, instead of just going to smiling Miss Babyface, oh, you love me, you really love me, like she turned into Sally Field all of a sudden, she still comes out with the attitude, and she's kind of doing some half-hearted handshakes and like, yeah, I'm hot shit and I know it. It fits her, right? It wouldn't, if she just came out like Molly fucking Holly in her cheerful days, it would have not fit. Do you agree with that? Did you notice this little change up she did?
I mean, I've noticed it. I don't think she could be too Molly Holly, as you put it, but that's the extreme example. But she still has to, I think when she shows vulnerability, people may like her if they already like her, but it won't make anyone new like her. But when she's strong, that's really where the money is.
Well, and we'll get there in a minute, because actually it might make some of the people who like her not like her if they didn't recognize it. But I think it was obviously glaring enough, but we'll get there. Because anyway, she looks like a star. She comes out, she's talking about SummerSlam. She starts going into well, I've felt everything, embarrassed, heartbreak, teetering there. But right now the feeling is pissed the hell off. And that's what the people want to hear. And Dominic, you stabbed me in the back, but like you may have heard many times before, it just wasn't deep enough. And yeah, that's what you want to hear.
That's a new era WWE line right there. That's a we're going to Netflix line.
Well, but said there were all words in the fucking Merriam-Webster dictionary there. There was no profanity. There was no curse words. It was a double entendre only for those of you with a dirty mind.
Why was she with this guy so long if he wasn't giving her anything good?
Well, because apparently it was the other way around. She'd stabbed him deep enough on a number of occasions, I'm sure, but nevertheless. And then she says, Liv can't run forever because I'm Rhea Bloody Ripley. And then she growls, and I'm going to remind you who the hell I am. That's Rhea Bloody Ripley, right? Boom, it's over. The people are yes. And then here come Liv and, well, they don't hear they come, but Liv and Dominic are in the skybox area. I don't know if they had but they're just standing up in the fucking cheap seats. And the crowd boos the shit out of them, and they won't let Dominic speak, to the point where even when Rhea said, no, let's hear what this little weasel has to say for himself or whatever, they still wouldn't. They're fuck you, Dominic, right? We're going to do this. And Dominic's thing is, I deserve to be treated like a man, and you tried to change me and boss me around. And I called you mommy, but now I got a girl that calls me daddy. And again, this is like kind of, risque Saved by the Bell shit, but it's working here. And I still don't want to see Liv Morgan wrestle, but as a weaselly, bitchy, it helps if she's fake, because she's a fake bitch here, right? She's stabbing Rhea in the back and taking her high school fucking crush, blah, blah, blah. It's juvenile, but it's working. I just don't want to see her wrestle.
I mean, it's people in their 20s doing it. I wouldn't say it's Saved by the Bell. Did you ever watch Saved by the Bell? Nothing happened on that show.
Well, I'm reaching at least that recently for some... Yeah.
They sang Friends Forever. They sang Friends Forever.
Children-oriented show. How about fucking Welcome Back, Kotter fucking shit? I don't know. I haven't watched childish shows since I was a child, and then I put away childish things.
Hey, up your nose with a rubber hose.
Well, in your face with a fucking mace. How about that? Can of mace.
All right.
See, I couldn't even remember what the goddamn... Welcome Back, Kotter is a show that doesn't get enough reruns these days.
Do you think it's a good show? You like it?
I watched it at the time, but there was only two other options. So,
what'd you think of John Travolta?
Said for that.
What'd you think when John Travolta broke out as a star? Not just The Boy in the Bubble, but of course Saturday Night Fever.
Well, when I saw the boy in the bubble, I knew he was destined for greatness. But Saturday Night Fever, it was a shock at the time to know that John Travolta could fucking dance. Obviously, people have forgotten about that because he never danced out.
Yeah, it's before people knew he was gay.
Well, long and before they knew he was bald.
Yeah, well, he wasn't bald yet.
Well, how do we know? We weren't looking.
No, you could tell that's his hair back then.
Well, I mean, anybody that's going to start fucking having fake shit sewed on the top of their head at some point in their life, you got to start suspecting them early.
It's the same hairdo Ellen Travolta had. I think it's really his hair.
I thought you meant Ellen DeGeneres.
Ellen DeGeneres, no.
When you said Ellen, who is that? Is that his mother?
That was his sister.
His sister?
His sister. She was Chachi's mom on Happy Days.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I think that's her.
I never paid any attention. I think by the time Chachi came around, I was already traveling on whatever night Happy Days was on.
Yeah, that's right. She was Chachi's mom, Ellen Travolta. Englewood, New Jersey.
Well, how did she end up with two diverse children as Chachi and John Travolta?
No, it was her brother.
Were they different fathers?
Well, no, it wasn't her. It wasn't her son. John Travolta was her brother, not her son.
Oh. Well, so then that means that John Travolta is Chachi's uncle?
No, that's Fonzie.
Well, no, now, because they never said that Fonzie had a brother or a sister, did they?
He was Fonzie's nephew, wasn't he?
Well, but Fonzie couldn't have a nephew unless he had a brother or a sister.
But they said he was, well, I guess his mom would have been, is that Fonzie's sister? I've been watching Happy Days in a long time.
Ellen Travolta?
Ellen Travolta. Was she Ellen Fonzie? Fonzarelli?
I don't know. Was she fucking Henry Winkler?
You have a weird way of thinking how families get. You've taken this in weird roads several times. But back to Liv and Dominic.
Well, anyway, that's when. Here's what happened to poor old Rhea Ripley. She fell victim to some of the soap opera writers that they employ, trying to earn their money by giving her the story that they think that a woman would tell her ex in some kind of situation. I don't know what the fuck. But she actually started saying, but Dominic, the bad thing, I'm proud of you and everything you've accomplished. One of my greatest pride, see the accent too, is watching you become the man you've become over the past few years.
See the accent too.
You won gold. But I kind of wanted you to beat your dad on your own. This was not Rhea Bloody Ripley. This was bloody awful. It was shit she never should have said. The people didn't like it. Not only was it rotten, I think she knew that it was rotten. And she kind of stammered on it. And after the shit that they have said to her, they being Dominic and Liv, she lost the people when she started putting his little goddamn limp-dicked ass over. That's not what they wanted to hear. And by the time she got finished, they were whatting her. And they would have been whatting her worse if she hadn't kind of crossed them up a little bit with not stopping a couple times where they thought she was going to stop and they couldn't get the rhythm. But then at the end of it, she kind of got it back with, it's the last decision you're ever going to make, because then that sounded like Rhea Ripley again. But in the meantime, would they give this? People don't want to see this fucking sensitive side, or they don't want her to try to put Dominic over. And they want her to fucking come out and say, you fucking bitch, I'm going to fucking rip you from asshole appetite here when I get a hold of you, and you fucking motherfucker. When I was the reason why that you were where you were in this fucking industry, in this kind of WWE universe, because you were hanging off of me, and I should have realized, and that's the only mistake I made, is not realizing, you little fucking weasel, I will kick your dick up between your tonsils. That's what they want to hear from Rhea, isn't it?
I think they would like to see her chase after Liv and Dom, getting her hands on them every now and then. And she wants to hear Liv, I'm going to kick your ass. And when I'm done with you, Dominic, I'm going to kick your ass too.
But that's so anyway, when she got sensitive, the people actually started just blowing it off and whatting her. But then Liv replied, and then Rhea bowed up at Liv and started growling again and got him back a little bit. And then they did the spot, which, again, the first part of this fucking segment was excellent until that minute and a half where Rhea decided to write a fucking Ann Landers letter. And then she kind of got him back, and Liv kind of got him back, and then Rhea bows up, and here we go. And then where Dominic and Liv are standing in the bleachers, Priest comes, you see the camera shot, Priest comes right up behind them and stands over their shoulders, and then they suddenly do the, oh shit, and slowly I turned, and boom! Huge fucking pop. Priest takes Dominic out into the concession area, fucking rattling shit around, bopping him off of everything. Rhea is chasing Liv. Liv is bailing out. Priest beats Dominic, and it wasn't this fucking walk fighting bullshit. Oh, let's go down the stairs now. He beat him down the stairs and into ringside and into the ring, and Carlito then stops Priest, and Priest shit cans Carlito, and they go to the break with this thing still erupting. That was way to fucking end a segment. And the best part, again, like you mentioned, because they're setting up this match we're going to come back from the break with, but Rhea chasing, and there goes Liv out the back door, and Rhea's in hot pursuit. Every time they can tease Rhea getting her hands on Liv and coming close or doing it enough to keep it fresh, the people are going to go batshit. I don't want to see the match. I just want to see her chase her and eventually, catch her at some point, just beat her up.
I also like that. I'm really a big fan of Liv Morgan in this role. I think she's been great, and her and Dominic together is fantastic. I love it. And I thought they were great here, other than the Rhea part. And I agree. I've not been a fan in any of these segments for the last few months of any of the commiserating Rhea Ripley. So I don't like that. But when Priest popped up, that was the coolest thing Priest has done in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And it worked perfectly, and the people reacted, and Liv and Dominic reacted. And we've seen a lot of these brawls out in the concession area in the arena like this in AEW to the point where it means nothing. This one felt like in the moment. It was hot and happening, and it was great. And
there was more urgency, and it didn't go on for 5 and 10 fucking minutes.
Right. And Rhea coming up the stairs at them pointed out one of the things I like about Liv Morgan. She's almost like Jimmy Hart. Like, she'll talk shit, and she knows that she has to run from Rhea, but she also will dive in and jump on Priest's back. She'll jump in the ring and throw kicks at a downed opponent. I like that. I think she's so good in this role. Well, and this is the best open to Raw in a while.
Her voice helps also because it's just that shrieking. And that's the way they set it up. When the last thing I think Rhea said was, well, thanks to your obnoxious voice, at least we could figure out exactly where you were. And Priest had been, like, you couldn't actually just fucking find him by eyeballing it anyway, but it was a nice touch when right then Priest comes through the fucking curtain behind him. And they whole.
And I like Priest and Rhea still having that connection, even though Judgment Day is broken up. They're still, what do they call them? The Terror Twins or something?
Yes, the Terror Twins.
It works.
So
I like
which one gets to be the Keith Richards part of the Toxic Twins? But and then they had set up Priest and Carlito when we came back from the break, and obviously it was a wonderful contest. But finally, Priest won with a choke slam. Boom, 1, 2, 3. And then here comes the Judgment Day and they do the gnat on the elephant thing. Priest just knocks JD out, and Finn and Dom fucking, hit and get on him. And Liv is cheering him on. And then Rhea's music plays. And here she comes, and she kicks Carlito in the fucking balls. And Carlito, at least they found a spot for him. He's an entertaining flunky fella. And then she distracts Finn, and Priest is about to grab him, and JD comes in and eats a super kick, and Finn bails, and Priest choke slams. And also JD is now the human crash test dummy. Boom, and
Did you
he
see that choke slam? You see how
I was
high
about
he
to
went?
say he needed to clear customs when he came back down. And so that's, he's an entertaining. What'd you say about somebody else at one point? He's an entertaining stooge. Nick Jackson, when you said that about one time, he would be an entertaining stooge.
Yeah, actually, this is kind of the kind of role that I think Nick Jackson would excel in, being like a JD McDonough kind of character in a group.
Except he doesn't look nearly as physically acceptable and cosmetically pleasing as JD does, except for JD's giant peach basket head. But
the douchiness adds to the ability to get heat, especially when, like a Liv Morgan, he's jumping in and throwing kicks or something, and then he gets to take the big bumps when he gets his ass kicked. As opposed to him doing the spots to hurt opponents that he shouldn't be able to beat, let him take those same twists and turns as bumps.
Yes, and you've just got two opposites there with JD and Nick, because JD's the one with the bulbous cranium, and Nick is the one where you could cut his hair with a pencil sharpener. You got the little teeny tiny head.
JD has a big head. Nick Jackson has an empty head.
There you have it.
There you have it.
And JD's got room to put more stuff in, whereas, you
take it too far, and then you just don't let it go.
Well, I'm just saying, JD's got room for more stuff. He can learn a bunch more, whereas the other guy, he's still empty after all this point. It might not even well try, but nevertheless. So then Rhea and Priest, boy, we've taken some side roads on this description. Rhea and Priest are hugging each other. When here comes old Dominic, he's going to fucking blister Priest off the top rope, but Priest reaches out and catches him in the goozle for the choke slam over Rhea's back, and then lets go of the hug. And he tosses Dominic to Rhea, who hooks him up to give him the riptide. But then Liv grabs Dom and pulls him out by the leg and saves him. And this was all great shit. This is like 35, 40 minutes into the fucking show or whatever, with the exception, and Priest and Carlito wasn't bad if you had time to watch it. But again, this is a wrestling show. What the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, and Priest and Carlito is an extension of that opening segment. How long do you think they should wait before Rhea gets her hands on Dominic?
Well, but what is the description gets her hands on?
Gives him a bump that gets a big pop. Does something to him that causes everyone to jump up because she finally got her hands on him.
Wait, Vin is Berlin? Vin is Berlin?
Oh, forgive me. I didn't realize you are such a master of these accents. I didn't exactly understand.
Vin is Berlin. I think
Berlin is coming up. I'm not sure.
She might can get her hands on him. She might can fucking trip him up. She might can fucking lay hands but be foiled before damage is done. That type of thing. But I think the match is where she's got to get her hands on him and give him some significant type of bump or physical treatment at some point.
Like, we really didn't get it with Otis and Gable. Do we get that moment?
No, they didn't get it with Otis and Gable.
But do we get that moment where Rhea just gets her hands on Dominic and looks at the crowd and they go crazy, and she finally just hits him with a punch and he gets to jump out of the ring?
Well, no, I mean, I believe they're going to do the mixed tag in Berlin. I would think they're leading to this, are they not? Is there confirmation on this, or am I just supposing that they would have that match at the next big show? Are you anxiously Googling, trying to find out?
Well, it came up right away. Bash in Berlin, which came up when I Googled Bash at Berlin. Bash in Berlin. Oh, yeah. 3 matches announced so far. Gunther, Randy Orton, Cody Owens, and Terror Twins versus Judgment Day.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, body slams, suplexes, drop kicks, big boot in the mush, stuff like that. I would believe that, Dominic has more than enough heat that she can be doing that type of thing to him. I don't think she'll send him out strapped to a backboard in the first confrontation.
Hey, I got a question for you. Live and live. Rhea and Priest.
Live and let live.
Live and let live. Rhea and Priest.
That ought to be your fucking finish, is to oblivion. Yeah, because you can't tell who's giving the bump and who's taking it.
Listen, what I'm trying to say here is the Terror Twins, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, have been associated together on the main roster for a long time as Judgment Day. Now suddenly their opponents are Judgment Day. At what point do Rhea and Priest not get Judgment Day royalties?
Well, more importantly, at what point do Priest and Rhea not copyright or trademark Judgment Day? Priest was involved in the original part, right?
It was Edge, Rhea, and Priest.
Okay, and Rhea was involved. So at what point did they not think, well, we ought to trademark this if we're going to let all these other jacklegs in? It's their fault. Then they could be Judgment Day. And JD and Finn could be the Terror Twins.
It'd be a great way to get Clarence Mason back on the show. You could say that Finn Balor consulted him behind everyone's back and got the rights.
There you go. Another storyline just pops up. Did you hear me as I'm snapping my fingers into the microphone?
I didn't hear that, so I thought you were being sarcastic.
I'm continuing to do it. Just snap it away. See, you're goddamn. Speaking of oblivion.
This seems like a conspiracy. Maybe I should get Ventura on the line.
So, anyway, the point is, yes, I think that Rhea Ripley can bounce Dominic around a couple of times to the satisfaction of the crowd there in Berlin and around the world, coast to coast and continent to continent via satellite. But it's not going to blow the whole thing off. They'll probably do something hot to continue it, one would imagine.
See, that's the thing. I mean, to go into the match, I was thinking more just a moment where they finally somehow bump into each other in the ring and the fans are ready for it and she just hits them, as opposed to whatever cute spot they come up with for the match.
Well, I'm not talking about doing something cute. But at the same point, they may want to milk her actually just punching him right in the mush. Because what if fucking Priest gave fucking Dominic the big boot in the mush and he turned around and there was Rhea and Rhea picked him up and gave him a big fucking scoop slam in the middle of the ring. The place would come unglued. Just a spot like that. Simple things that could happen in the course of this match. Because the women and the men are not supposed to fucking cohabitate or co-fornicate in the mixed tag team match. It's supposed to be man versus man and woman versus woman in the WWE. So you got to get creative as to how people are in the right place to defy that rule, don't you?
How much heat does it get if Dominic body slams Rhea?
Well, again, that's something that I think it would get a ton of heat, and I bet you they won't let it happen because of man-on-woman violence. But my rule since that became a thing on television was you don't want to see a man punch a woman or kick a woman or hit a woman with some type of blunt instrument. But if a babyface man gives a heel woman a scoop slam, how many scoop slams are reported in domestic violence cases around the United States of America on an annual basis? Right? It doesn't kind of take it out of the realm of, oh my God, and more, and okay, it's wrestling. She deserved it, right?
But if that's your argument, why not just pile driver? How many pile drivers appear on criminal records?
Well, but then also you're shitting the bed as far as the business too, because if a man pile drives a woman, it ought to fucking paralyze her and you'd read about it in the newspaper.
Well, that was the opening segment of Raw and many other thoughts as well.
Yes.
What else was on Raw, Jim?
Well, I'll tell you what, Odyssey Jones. I would sing a little song, but I'm afraid the microphone wouldn't pick it up. But Odyssey Jones, I got the Jones for Odyssey Jones. Remember we said, or at least I did, I don't know about you, Brian, that Odyssey Jones was gonna be a great addition to the roster when we saw him in NXT about 3 years ago. And then we haven't seen him since. And we talked on the last program about where the fuck has this guy been? And I think you looked up that he'd had a match in Ocala, Florida, in Dory Funk Jr.'s backyard or something 9 months ago, and nobody'd seen him, but now he's here. So we don't know why it took so long. We never discovered why they've just hidden him?
It turns out he was on an Odyssey.
He was on an Odyssey. Well, they're doing the deal, first of all, where Kofi loves him in the New Day. I was hoping we'd just get Odyssey Jones without having the New Day, but Kofi loves him, but Woods is not on board with his friendship or involvement or whatever in their group of the Bootios and the trombones and the trumpets and the skin flutes and whatever else they're fucking tooting over there. And so now Odyssey Jones had a singles match with Vincent Whiny. The fuck? They make up all these goddamn names for all these people in NXT. They don't even sound like they come from the planet Earth, but they let this guy go on national television named Vincent Whiny.
Is that the first person named Vince on a WWE television show since Vince McMahon?
Probably.
Like, when was the last character or wrestler named Vince or Vincent other than him?
And do you think they're trying to send out the message that Vince is whiny?
Maybe. We'll find out next week if it's Vince Leaky in the match.
Ooh, and then Vince Poopy.
Vince Shitty.
Vince, yeah, and then about 6 months from now, it's Vince Fuck You. Anyway, I thought the other night, I said, that's probably the biggest help that Tony Khan could ever hope for right now. The biggest boon to his business and his company, and just the best thing could ever happen in his life, is that Vince McMahon could somehow clear his name and come back to take over the creative in the WWE again. That's the only thing I can think of that might help fucking Tony Khan right now, because this show has changed. It ain't all the way there. There's 3 hours, but Odyssey Jones, anyway, basic big man match, and it worked. He can move. He hit the modified Bubba Slam / Abyss Black Hole Slam. 1, 2, 3. This guy can get over. And I mentioned it with 3 years ago when we saw him, and then they hit him. And that's the only reason I'm hopeful, but I'm hesitant because, what took so long? I'm just wondering, is there something the matter, something going on, or are they hiding something? But nevertheless, he's a big fucking guy that can move around, but he's not ridiculous like a gymnast, but he moves his 400 pounds around. He's got a big smile. He's a happy guy. Kids like Mark Henry's biography said he liked big, happy fucking guys. And he's got personality. So this guy can get over with the people depending on whatever they do with him. But then here came the music, and out comes, what is their group name? The Last Testament, or the Last Will and Testament?
The Final Testament.
God damn, it'll never end, though. Probate. Karrion Kross Probate Company with
Karrion Kross and Probate.
And there's the Authors of Pain and Scarlett O'Hara and what are you?
Scarlett O'Hara, really?
Scarlett Pimpernel. What's her name?
And Rhett Butler.
Rhett Butler is over there. And speaking of Rhett Butler, he was born 3 years after Paul Ellering. Who's there? Well, I love you, Paul. I'm sorry.
He's well preserved from the Iditarod. It froze him.
Oh, yes. No wonder Paul never ages. His face froze instead of his eyeball at the Iditarod. He's 112 years old.
Can I tell you what a mark I am? There was a moment here I thought they were actually going to give him the mic and let him talk.
And Kross was talking, and I wasn't caring. And Cross is telling him that Kofi is trying to replace Woods with Odyssey Jones and blah, blah, blah. So they're trying to foment some type of dissension there in the New Day so that perhaps that we can get a New Day. But unfortunately, Odyssey, now are they going to make him play the fucking trombone now and eat cereal and fart unicorn colors? I don't know what they do.
You said you weren't caring about this. That could be a great name when he turns babyface, Karen Cross. But I think, if there's any promise to come out of this, I've never been a New Day fan, and I've found them insufferable on this show. But the idea of maybe seeing Xavier Woods as a heel, you know what? That's fresh. I'm interested to see where they would go with that. And if it changes things up so it's not just a New Day, as it's been for like 10 years, all over the show, I think that's for the good of everyone. The New Day aren't pushed as much as they used to be. They're kind of in that in-between main event segments kind of place right now. You get Odyssey over with Kofi. Xavier gets to do something different and fresh. This is the best stuff with the New Day I've seen in a while because of that.
It looks like Xavier needs to find him some backup, doesn't he? Okay, there's a 400-pound fucking guy on the other side, plus his ex-tag team partner, Kofi. Who the fuck is Xavier's big brother going to be?
And Big E probably isn't coming back, right?
Well, see, that was they teased that in the boring promo where some people may think Odyssey's trying to replace, or Kofi's trying to replace Big E with Odyssey. But he's actually trying to replace you, Xavier. Oh, his fucking name, Jesus Christ. Anyway, I want to see more of this guy. I think he can get over. And he's a fresh, big guy that doesn't look like the same fucking guys that you see a lot in the business these days. And this is the way you get him over. The first time you see him on television, he's not wrestling some fucking guy that he's going to have to give his finish to 3 times over 15 minutes to fucking beat him. So and it gets boring. The show was moving here. They were almost, and Drew is in Adam Pearce's office, and we're just now almost to the 9 o'clock hour. So the first hour of this show was cooking. And Drew, again, is incredible on the mic. And he and Pierce are playing off of each other fantastic. And Punk had travel issues, and he wasn't there. But Drew didn't care because he's complaining about Orton getting a title shot and because he's been screwed and blah, blah, blah. And finally, Pierce tells him off, and Drew promises he's going to be on his best behavior. And now we've just got to 9 o'clock. So it's like they're trying. They're trying.
That was a good first hour.
But sometimes the cake doesn't quite rise. No, at 9 o'clock, we got the Creeds against Otis and Tozawa. And that was where I was like, you got to be kidding me. Because still, even if there is some interest in Otis and his, babyface turn and all this stuff, and they're trying to get the Creeds some heat, they need to put them in a more palatable position, because when you turn the television on or if you were flipping around at 9 o'clock, you're already watching TV, you're looking for something else, and you see Tozawa in the ring, and the Creeds are greener than the pepper tree. But basically, Ivy Nile came out and beat up Model Girl, who, she is so skinny, she doesn't look like a real human being. Have you noticed that?
Well, I don't know if I wouldn't put it that way, necessarily.
No, it doesn't look like there'd be enough room inside of her for all the organs and things that you need to function. I mean, what do they do? Do they give some people smaller sets of these things?
It's an interesting gimmick. You could punch me in the gut all you want. I have no organs.
Yeah, you've got an organ. So I couldn't punch you, but she has no organs, Jerry. There are no organs. There's no room. How big is the average uterus?
I have no idea. What kind of question is that?
I don't see how you could put two kidneys side by side, and that's the way they're supposed to go, right? She's not thick enough.
I'm not going to get into this evaluation of her internal organs.
Do you really
believe on her appearance on Raw?
Now look at Google how many feet of intestine a normal human being has, and tell me that you could put the equivalent amount of garden hose in her stomach.
Okay, well, again, garden hose is a different thing. The average combined length of small and large intestines is at least 15 feet in length. The small intestine can measure 9 to 16 feet, while the large intestine is roughly 5 feet long.
Well, do you think there's room for that inside of her? Come on now. She's so tiny, she uses a Cheerio for a hula hoop.
So I'm guessing you think Ivy Nile has a leg up in this feud.
She's got it more than that up. I'll tell you what, some of her shit is perking standing right up. And
what again, this is one of those Raw segments we talked about earlier where I knew there was like 7 minutes I could just leave the room. So I didn't see any of this. I'm sure if I did, none of this would be in my review.
Well, it was just an observation I made. Did you see the video physics breakdown of Bronson Reed's splash?
I did, and this was something they did that was really good.
This was cool as shit. Ladies and gentlemen, as the children say, go out of your way to see this. Certainly they put this up on the YouTube or something. But they did a video breakdown with the physics of the thing of Bronson Reed's splash off the top rope. And they gave the statistics. He's 6 feet tall. He's 350 pounds. His splash comes from 9 feet in the air at a 45-degree angle. And they got the telestrator and all the stuff going on. And they're zeroing in like it's it's just great shit. And he comes down apparently with 1,715 pounds of force, Brian, with the law of gravity, which was invented by Isaac Newton after he ate his grandmother's apple pie, and times the space-time continuum relay down to Earth, they calculated it at 1,715 pounds. And he did it 6 times. So that was a total of 10,000 pounds of impact on poor old Seth Franklin Rollins.
And his internal organs.
Which he has some room for. Because he's not as slightly built as Model Girl.
All right.
You can put both his kidneys side by side, side by side.
Side.
Yes, you could put both his kidneys side by side and still have room for dinner at Denny's.
Denny's?
Yeah, that's where America eats.
Not breakfast, but dinner.
If you can find one open these days, all the Denny's in Louisville are pretty much fucking gone. They've taken them all out. Well, they've all gone out of business. Or somebody in the middle of the night came in, just stole everything, took them all out, sign and everything.
Left them in a bathtub with ice. Said, call a doctor.
Yeah. So anyway, should we move on with Raw? Because another thing, Randy Orton. There was a lot of girls talking and wrestling after what we just talked about. But then Randy Orton, he's fucking over. And they show the VTR, the videotape replay for the kids out there. Of Gunther pinning Orton at the King of the Ring tournament. But Orton's shoulder was up because he rolled him up so tight, he couldn't keep his shoulder down, and they worked it in where Triple H said, well, there'll be a rematch. It worked. It was legitimately a bad referee call based on a fucking thing that happened, and now they're making it the bone of contention in the fucking rematch. And the people are chanting Randy. And they're fucking, again, he's another star. And all he has to do is say, 20 years ago, I won the world title for the first time. And in Berlin, I'll win it for the 15th time. That's all he had to say. Boom, and Gunther music. And as he comes to the ring, and it's going to be obviously his hometown, but at the same time, he's got heat in this environment here. And they just drop in the statistics. 75% of the time he's been in the WWE, he's been a champion. And that includes NXT, right? Because he was NXT champion for some time. And Orton, again, now I think the best part about Orton's promos is he's reached the point where he knows that as long as he's telling the story, he can use a lot of what he's given or fed or is written for him or whatever. But as long as he's getting to where they want him to go, he can do it his way. And he's more relaxed and he's conversational and he's got a great delivery. And they went back and forth, and Orton does a great job of rousing up the fans and did babyface bragging, where he was putting himself, and he was responding to the way that Gunther had torn him down by putting himself and his kids and his wife and his life and everything over. And he got the fans chant, "You deserve it." See, I'm clapping now.
I didn't hear that.
But you can't hear it because of the goddamn screwy audio. And if you're listening to this clip as a standalone, folks, listen to the whole goddamn podcast. You'd know what we're talking about.
Babyface bragging. Like, I drank 8 gallons of milk. I walked 5 ladies across the street.
Well, no, there's a way that babyfaces can put themselves over and talk about their accomplishments and more or less brag on themselves, as long as they are doing it the proper way and the proper verbiage and responding to a heel that has maligned those self-same items aforementioned. And anyway, then boom, boom, boom. Gunther says, "You know what? You always screw it up, and your grandfather was a screw up, and Bob Orton Sr. was not a screw up. Bob Orton Jr. maybe, but anyway, your grandfather was a screw up, your father was a screw up, and you're the biggest screw up of all." And they're going face to face, and they're about ready to go, Gunther and Orton. And here comes Drew's music. And another fucking star to be heard from. And as soon as the people see him, they start chanting CM Punk. And as Gunther turns toward Drew McIntyre, which that was the only thing, I wish he'd have done it a little less abruptly, because it was just like, oh shit, I guess I should turn now, and rather than wait, what's happening back and forth a little. But nevertheless, he turns and Orton spins him back around and gives him the RKO out of nowhere to the big pop. And then he picks up the world title belt, Orton does. But now Drew's about to get in the ring, and Punk jumps him. And now it's a huge pop because Punk is here. And he's wailing on goddamn Drew, and then Drew headbutts Punk. And did you see? While this is going on, Orton just was in the ring and just said, "Ah, fuck it," got out of the ring on the far side. And you never see him again. And Gunther was already gone, you didn't see him again. Remember when baby faces and heels would show some solidarity? If one was being fucked with, hey, Rube, and here comes the rest of them. It wouldn't just leave you hanging out to dry. You remember that, Brian?
I do.
Well, they don't do it anymore. But anyway, and one more thing, and then Drew takes off his belt like, "I'll show you," and fucking Punk takes it away and whips the shit out of Drew McIntyre. And McIntyre runs off. And then, of course, they go to the break hot, and the people are screaming and everything. And when they come back, the punctuation on the sentence, the girl, one of the girl interviewers, can't remember her name, is in the back saying that Punk had lied about the travel issues to get his hands on Drew. And Punk does a babyface promo, and he's got the belt, and he says, "I think I just figured out a way to make everybody happy." So the belt will figure into whatever the goddamn first match of theirs is with no special referee.
I figured out a way to make everybody happy. Hey, everybody, we're all gonna get laid.
Yeah. But again, this was fucking, again, Gunther and Orton and then Drew and then Punk is just star, angle, setting a match. And the people are going crazy. And there's 13,000 of them in Austin, Texas. What'd you think of the whole deal?
I thought it was good. I didn't expect Drew to come out there, so it caused me to pay a little extra attention when he did. And then the thing with him and Punk, again, you never get sick of him and Punk not even wrestling, just promoting each other or attacking each other. Good stuff here.
And the reason, with Drew, he wants to be the world champion. And again, that's why Punk screwed him out of his chance. It should be him instead of Orton fighting Gunther. He's not aligning himself with anybody, babyface or heel, because he's just pissed off. And that's why he's the only one. You know whose side everybody else is on, right? But Drew is different, which is why he's one of the more interesting folks on the roster now. And by the way, I'm going to put the lid on my pen now. I just clicked it. You can't hear it.
I heard some of that. It sounded like awful.
Well, Bronson Reed versus The Miz. Of course, we don't want to see the match, but at the end of the match, Bronson Reed won with a fucking splash. And then again, they do the angle. He's a madman. He goes for another one. R-Truth comes in and stops him. And he cross-bodied R-Truth. Truth is a brave son of a bitch. Flying cross-body off the top from Bronson Reed. Boom. And then he splashed Truth. And then he splashed him again. And then he splashed him again. Oh, Lord, he splashed him again. And then along came Joan. All right. About 3 splashes, and then they pull Truth away, and Adam Pearce is yelling at him. And then he went to the other corner and splashed Truth. And then he finally gets out of the ring, and he starts to leave, and all the officials are tending to Truth. And thankfully, the menace is leaving, and he runs back and does another splash off the top. This is great shit. This is wrestling. This is getting this giant fucking asshole, Bronson Reed, who's literally throwing his weight around, over to people by having him flatten fucking people. It's not brain science or rocket surgery.
It's getting him over. It's also getting the splash over.
Yes. And
where do you think they're going with him and Pierce? Because it wasn't just Pierce as the general manager getting mad. It seemed like, they were face to face it seemed like they were leading to something. Do you think they're going anywhere with that?
Well, no, I don't think they're going to book Adam to wrestle, but Adam is being, Nick Aldis is a different type of general manager because, as we mentioned, he's I don't really care what happens as long as my brand, he's the cutthroat businessman type. As long as my brand is getting over, see, I do the accent. Whereas Adam is trying and does take the more babyface, exasperated fucking official approach, and is good at that because that's more to his personality. I've seen Adam's work when he's a booker, and when these guys would come to him with bullshit for real. And he's doing an excellent job of doing the same thing he does on camera that he does in the locker room. But I don't think they're going to book him. But they want Bronson Reed to be an edgy, against every out of control fucking person. So they're going to try to pit him against the authority figure on the show. That's my take on it. But in the meantime, they're letting him flatten all these fuckers, and that's great.
Is he going to flatten Pierce?
I don't know whether they need to go that far, at least right now. But at some point, who knows if Adam was tending to one of these people and he came back for one more splash and Adam just happened to get in the way? Like the Freebird's hair cream was an accident too, right? And now Pierce is sitting there listening to the show going, God damn it, I don't want to take his motherfucking splash.
Looks like Pierce already had some of the Freebird's hair cream.
Well, see, so nothing can hurt him now.
That's right.
And then we were all ready to the main event of Raw, which was Sami Zayn and fucking Bronson Reed for the Intercontinental title, 2 out of 3 falls.
No, not Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker.
Or Braun, Jesus, I wrote Braun, and I'm still talking about Bronson Reed. Let me try that again. For the Intercontinental title, 2 out of 3 falls, Sami Zayn and Braun Breaker. And see, there's another sign that Vince is gone. Would there be two? Would there be Bronson and Braun? Braun Breaker might have to be. He might have to be a backbreaker, which kind of would be better than Braun Breaker, wouldn't it? Boy, you're a real ball breaker.
Anything would be better than Braun Breaker or this review.
Well, nevertheless, I wanted to acknowledge that they had a good main event and it wasn't too long and it was 2 out of 3 falls, so they fucking traded. Sammy won the first one with the kick out of nowhere. And then Braun evened it in the second fall with a couple of spears. And then the finish was Sammy coming off the top and Braun just spearing him right in the air, 1, 2, 3. That was the way that they did it, but there were a couple of big moments when Braun caught him on a moonsault off the railing and lawn darted him into the announcer pit. Did you see the bump that Sami Zayn? He didn't take the bump, he was given the bump.
He was thrown, yeah.
But Jesus Christ, that was a little. He went like 6 or 8 feet past Braun and into that. I know the wall was padded, but he was also going head first. And then Braun again hit that Breakensteiner, as they're calling it now. And also that clothesline over the announce desk that he does. So in the course of a 15-minute main event, you got 2 out of 3 falls. They kept it moving, but they had like 3 really big spots to spread that out. And finally, again, Braun wins to make sure that everybody knows that this guy is now in the upper echelon of the company. He beat Sammy on pay-per-view. Now he beats him on national television. 2 out of 3 falls without resorting to a bazooka. And that doesn't mean that the people are going to like Sami Zayn any less than they do right now. But they're going to take Braun Breaker more seriously than they may have up till this point. That's called booking.
Well, that was called Raw, another episode of WWE Raw.
But they're pissing me off because there's more good stuff now that I actually kind of want to pay attention to. I'm not used to this encroachment on my personal time that they haven't done this in a long time, where they really wanted to make a lot of this program good.
Raw's been good enough lately that you'd want to call somebody.
Well, if you do want to call somebody, you know who you ought to call? You ought to call our friends at Mobile Mint. Folks, I'll tell you what.
Mint Mobile.
Well, they've got a new branch. What they're doing is they've got a truck. And they've outfitted it with all the plates and the engraving and the presses and the precious metals, and they're driving it around and they're minting you money for 50 cents on the dollar. You give them 50 cents, they will mint you.
They are not doing
a silver dollar. It's called the Mobile Mint.
It has nothing to do with Mint Mobile. So
well, they try to keep the overhead low. It's a new division of Mint, but of course the main business over at Mint Mobile. See, not to be confused with Mobile Mint, only a fool would confuse a truck that goes around minting money with a fucking cell phone plan. That's just ridiculous.
How the hell does that work? They go around minting money.
Well, see, they keep the overhead low because they don't have to rent a
Yeah.
brick and mortar place.
No, you
They've
said
just
that, but
got
how-
the stuff in the back of the truck.
So how are they in the back of the truck? They're minting money?
Yes, they'll for 50 cents, they'll make you a brand new silver dollar.
How are they doing this?
Well, they're doing it with the press in the back on the plates that they've had engraved, and they melt the silver and boom, and there you go.
All in the van or truck,
All in
whatever
the
it
van.
was.
That's why they come to you.
Once again, this has nothing to do with Mint Mobile, although it is fascinating in many ways.
But Mint Mobile is the main business. That's what's financing this foray that they're making into everybody's got to diversify.
Not in this case. This is not in any way. Again, we should be talking about the wonderful service you get from Mint Mobile, but Mobile Mint has no association with Mint Mobile, period, exclamation point.
No, not until
space bar.
Not until they're listed on the Dow Jones together when they do the big IPO. But nevertheless, the folks at Mint Mobile, they're making this money so that they can finance the startup costs of the Mobile Mint. And the way Mint Mobile is doing it is they are offering premium wireless plans for only $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. That means that you pretty much have to give these people your money, or elsewise you're just throwing it out the window. Because everybody else charges more than that. Brian, some people, some of these people, these big companies, these big tech giants, these goddamn overlords, these people that think that they've got the rest of us under their thumbs where they can just extort and yank out as much money out of our wallets as they want to every month. They're charging a lot more than $15 a month, aren't they?
Yes. A whole lot more.
Whole lot more. So much more it goes around and comes all the way back up behind you again. Well, Mint Mobile is here to rescue you and your squad. So, folks, if you're in the Reserve National Guard on the weekends and you have a squad or a squadron or whatever, that's what the young folks say, right? They have a squad. And so what about if you have your posse? Your posse? It used to be, hey, you and your fucking pals over there.
I don't think posse's used anymore either.
Well, that's squad now. They are here to rescue you and your squad with premium wireless plans starting at $15 a month on the nation's largest 5G network. So that's a network of 5Gs all across the country. And you can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan. Bring your own phone number. Bring other people's phone numbers. Join the party. Get a party line.
Bring your own phone number.
Do you know my Aunt Lola had a party line when I was 10 years old in 1971? She still had a party line.
What?
And yes, and it was it Ms. Peel that was on her? I'm trying to think. It's been so long ago. I was a young boy. But if the old party line where it was less expensive for your phone bill per month if you had somebody else on the line, but when you picked up the phone, if they were on it, you could hear them talking. You could hear their conversation both ways, and you had to either put the phone back down or ask them, "Pardon me, Ms. Peel, but could I make a call?" And then you might have an argument because they were there first.
How much cheaper was it that people did that?
It was like $5 or $6 a month cheaper, I believe. But now this was 50 years ago.
Right. But still, that seems like such an inconvenience.
Well, it certainly was, but that's the way things were done back in them days. But Aunt Lola had a party line, but you won't need to have one. But you can if you want to. Bring everybody. Just have everybody bring their phones and put them in a big circle in the middle of the room. And write everybody's phone number down and throw it in there and then pick out the phone numbers, and that's the person who gets the phone or the hotel key. You can do anything with these plans from Mint Mobile. You can get 3 months of premium wireless service for $15 a month. I'll guarantee you that. And to get this brand new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, you go to mintmobile.com/JCE, and that's what you do. Now, you got to pay them $45 for the 3-month plan at $15 a month. That's simple mathematics. But that's all you have to do, and you will cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/JCE. And As for the special party line plan, $750. But you might have to sometimes listen to other people's conversations.
I'm looking right here at the copy. There's nothing about party line plan, nothing about hotel room keys, and certainly nothing about mobile minting. But if you need good mobile services, Mint Mobile is there for you. One more time, what's that promo code? What's that website, Jim?
Well, mintmobile.com/JCE, the $45 upfront payment, or you can pray that they'll give you this plan. The $45 upfront payment is required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on the first 3-month plan only, and speeds may be slower above 40 GB on the unlimited plan, but once you get that high, what the hell? Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply, but you can see Mint Mobile for all the details on this whole thing. And coming soon to your neighborhood, the Mobile Mint.
Which will have no association with Mint Mobile, but you can have an association with them right now. One more time, mintmobile.com/JCE.
/JCE. And then the Mobile Mint is their tagline is going to be save cents on dollars.
Once again, we're talking about Mint Mobile, our friends, and they could be yours. Try them today. mintmobile.com/JCE.
Try them, and what happens if they don't become your friend? Are you going to cast them aside like an old shoe?
Let's talk about good things and good services like Mint Mobile's. They will be there for you like a trusty shoe. Once again, what's that promo code one last time, Jim?
/JCE at mintmobile.com. Every trusty shoe I've ever known smelled like somebody's old sweaty foot.
Well, Jim, as we transition from the happiness of Raw and Mint Mobile to the dreariness of what came from AEW on Dynamite this past week, do you know who threw out the opening pitch for the Mets today? You know, the baseball teams, they usually have someone throw out the opening pitch before a game. Celebrities or local personalities or people who've done good things.
Someone of note.
Someone of note. Do you know who did it today for the Mets?
Who would that have been, Brian? I have no idea. I don't follow the baseballers.
It was Hawk Tua Girl.
Hawk Tua Girl threw out the first pitch for the New York Mets.
She either has a great publicist or she blew Ron Darling.
Was it a spitball?
It was not a spitball. She's no Gaylord Perry, I'll tell you.
Well, apparently she may not be a Gaylord, but she's probably a headlord.
Well, I don't know where exactly we're going, but usually with these things, you know,
these things
with the opening pitch things,
you give her some respect instead of just calling her one of these things.
I wasn't calling her that. Again, your gutter-driven madness is dragging me down with it. What I'm trying to say is, if you were the president and you threw out the opening pitch, you get the star player. You get the star player on the other team to catch it.
Yes.
Derek Jeter caught it for George W. Bush.
Mm-hmm.
If you are, you know, someone who has done something good or just a local celebrity, you may get the best player on the team, but usually you're going to get someone off the bench. And you're just happy you're throwing the ball off a mound. She got no one. She got her friend, some girl, caught the ball. I've never seen that before. Usually...
Well, would you, if you were one of these major league ball players, would you want to catch a ball thrown by someone whose claim to fame is that she spits on dicks? There's got to be some type of mouth to hand to phallus transmission going on there, doesn't there?
She really must have a good publicist, I have to say.
Either that or something else is good.
Yeah, here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that's funny. It looks like the person she threw the pitch to was her friend from the video. Remember she had some friend with her? The guy that interviewed her, he's nowhere. This guy was doing this to become famous. She became famous. She brought her dopey friend along. This guy's still there, like, interviewing people on the street in Nashville.
Do you think her friend is along for some of these Hawk Tua exploits?
See, that's the problem, too. If you meet her now and you're like a celebrity or something, do you expect, like, you know, by the way, you want to go to the coat room? You know, like, what do you think? Like,
no, I think, but instead of shaking hands, I think she has to spit on you.
Well, she could do like one of those handshakes where you spit into your hand and then you...
Well, no, just go ahead and just spit in somebody's face. Just, well, what'd you expect? You wanted to meet her.
That's like the hottest photo that every like tabloid is looking for right now, a photo of her actually spitting at anything.
But no, she's going to do it for like $10 a pop at the state fair.
Now, she can get more than that.
Well, I don't know what you're talking quantity.
I don't know what, again, I don't want to go down the weird, vivid video road that you're fucking on right now.
Oh, well, I'm just saying.
The degenerate highway.
If she does take a booking at a state fair to spit in your face for $10 a pop, one of the Cult of Cornette members needs to let us know if that happens so we can publicize it for her.
Which wrestling promotion will have her on the air first? WWE or AEW?
Well, I normally I would have said TNA back in the day, but probably, what is that fucking promotion that Shitstain allegedly behind the scenes books for? Rocky Mountain Oyster or something? She'll show up there.
All right, we shall see. That's the Adventures of Hawk-Tuah Girl. Jim, some other breaking news as we are recording. You just sang this on the show a few weeks ago. Greg Kihn, the Baltimore-born singer, songwriter, and guitarist best known for the hit Jeopardy, or as this article says, Jeopard.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
He has died. He was 75 years old.
You're fucking, you goddamn fucked this guy's whole obituary up now. You're laughing about a typo, and you've just disregarded this poor man's entire life's work and career, and he's dead now.
He was 75.
And, well, apparently not a moment too soon did Greg Kihn depart. He must have been the victim of a conspiracy.
Ba 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 ba.
They don't write them like that anymore.
No, they don't. And there it is. How could they mess that up? Best known for the hit Jeopard.
Jeopard. Jeopard Depot. Well, that sounds like that Bobo Brazil line. I'm standing in the, I know I've told it, but I'll tell it again.
Oh, this is the best.
It's 1977, and I'm standing in the back of the Louisville Gardens, a 16-year-old waif, novice photographer, waiting with Bobo Brazil for the bell to ring for his match. And over across the back of the backstage area there, I see one of the old Andy Frayne ushers, and you heard, because the sound carried back in that room and echoed. And the one usher asked the other usher, "Who's that big guy?" And the other one said, "Well, that's Bozo Brazier." And fucking Bobo looked at me. He said, 30 years in the business, and it's Bozo Brazier.
Hey, speaking of wacky names, let me pull this up. I don't know if you saw, I tweeted it out. I've been going through the wrestling news files recently for a bunch of reasons. And I found a photo of Harvey Whippleman, downtown Bruno, on the Pittsburgh Indies. You want to talk about what was going on in the Pittsburgh Indies in 85? The back of the card, which was sent by them, or by him probably, downtown, and then in parentheses, Bruno Lauer, downtown Dr. Leonard, but it's Leanord, Leonard, Dr. Leonard Hot Stuff Spazinski, manager of Pop Life, Bongo Beefcake, October 1985. And this was Hildebrand's prime competition.
Yes. And that's the thing is, Mark Curtis, Brian Hildebrand, was livid over downtown Bruno because Brian had been working some of those there was a small independent area of shows in the West Virginia area near Pittsburgh back in the late 70s. And Brian had been working for those small shows around that area, and he was Dr. Mark Curtis, the master of disaster. And he always swore if fucking downtown Bruno came along from Fort Duquesne Boulevard shoots a road in Pittsburgh, which is down the road from where Brian grew up for a shoot. And Bruno came along and stole his whole fucking gimmick. And the thing was, and they were opposite in most every other way. But whereas Bruno had that fucking just ability to talk bullshit. He just naturally talked bullshit, whereas that's where Brian, was shortchanged. Is his promo, he wasn't as confident and just as fluid, whereas Brian could work as good or better as most of the boys on the show, and Bruno obviously was somewhat lacking in that department. But fucking when Bruno got into Memphis, Brian was fucking bullshit. He was like, God damn it, he stole my shit. Dr. Leonard Spazinski.
Well, the hot stuff. he had
Hot
multiple
Stuff
nicknames.
Spazinski,
Downtown
yes.
Hot Stuff.
Yeah.
Manager of Pop Life Bongo Beefcake.
I don't even remember ever seeing Bongo Beefcake.
The gardeners just arrived here. Let me give it.
Oh, God damn it. Now you can't even hear me slapping fucking meat into the goddamn microphone, but you're going to fucking blame your...
Once again, I don't know what is going on in the bizarre world that you have over there. One other question. Did you get the email I sent you? Because I wasn't sure if it went through. The photos of promoter Herman Sheffield.
Yes, I did.
Tupelo, Mississippi.
Yes, but he was not... Do we know if he was the promoter in Tupelo then, when Gene Gordon took those photos?
On the back of the photos, there are two. One says promoter and wife, and the other one says promoter Herman Sheffield, Tupelo, Mississippi.
Okay, well then Gene Gordon was taking a trip to Tupelo. But yes, that...
I don't know if those were Gene Gordon photos. Let me just say that.
Well, but if it's Gene Gordon's writing...
Oh.
And it says, and on top of an envelope, it says photo by Gene Gordon. What other kind of goddamn clues do you need?
It's on top of another photo that was taken by Gene Gordon.
Oh,
and that's Gene Gordon's handwriting in the green at the bottom of that one.
So what you're saying is this could possibly be somebody surreptitiously slipped something into Gene Gordon's files.
I believe this was in the random S file.
Promotor.
Sheffield.
Herman Sheffield. Promotor. T-O-R. Herman Sheffield.
Yeah.
And promoter and wife, that was the woman. Obviously, this looks like early to mid-60s at latest. By 1981, this woman standing next to Herman Sheffield was that portly, gray-haired lady in the fucking flowery shirt and short pants with the bad attitude when Tojo Yamamoto and Fuchi and Onita were tearing up the concession stand. They got in a slap fight.
Had you heard about that before you actually saw the footage? That it had happened with Tojo? That she jumped in thinking her husband was really getting beat up?
Well, no, because it showed on TV here in Louisville the 8 days after it happened, and I didn't have a correspondent in Tupelo, Mississippi.
I didn't know if anyone was talking about it. Like, you had to see what happened. Tojo beat up the promoter's wife.
Well, no, actually, he didn't beat her up. He just slapped her back. But no, that wasn't even the fucking the talk amongst the talent and the guys and the fans at the shows was just that they had another Tupelo concession stand brawl. Not that Herman Sheffield's wife got into it with Tojo. Because the fans all thought everything was a shoot, right? So they would mention, well, Tojo and that fat woman got in a shoot.
They probably wouldn't be rude and call her fat like you just did, but Jim...
Portly, then. Plump.
Let's speak of the plump wrestling program.
Billowy.
The billowy and plump wrestling program known as AEW Dynamite, which took place on August 14th, 2024. From
Norfolk, Virginia.
That's right. That's where they were.
Boy, howdy. And they must be, at this point, gluttons for punishment. Because why would... They went straight into the ring introductions. No intro, no nothing. They thought, boy, we're going to grab them. And it wasn't MJF. It was Mercedes Moon. The opening match of this program was Mercedes Moon versus Hikaru Shida. So pretty much the most unpopular, and not in a heel way, but just in a, oh, goddamn her again way, the most unpopular person on the roster, versus another now you see her, now you don't girl. She pops up every once in a while, does something, and goes wherever the people that go away go. And how long was this? My God, it was every indie girls match ever with an extra helping of awkward. And I kept hearing a noise throughout the whole match, and it was this clicking, and then I realized it was so many channels were changing at the same time I could hear them in my own home. It is entertaining watching Mercedes do the stripper shimmy and act all full of herself while Camille stands there with the stone face, and hopefully Camille will not go down with this ship because Mercedes is an anchor around her neck.
Well, what did you think about the way she looked and the way she was dressed? You know, from behind for a moment, I almost thought it was Britt Baker from the way she had her hair and from the outfit she was wearing, but they dyed her hair. She used to be blonde. Now she's brunette. Do you think she stands out and is as striking now as she was a few years ago?
Well, not even a few years ago, but just not too long ago, last time I saw her anywhere. She needs to, I don't know if she looks like Britt Baker from behind. Britt Baker.
Well, I think I've seen Britt Baker wear that outfit on the show is what I think.
Okay, well, maybe wearing the same thing, but I don't think Britt Baker has a back you can show a drive-in movie on. But she needs, I think, a more striking look overall, rather than just the fact that she's a good-looking young lady, but she's big. Her size is the... Can we not give her something striking to wear? I'm not saying go for the China look with the leather and chains, but let's have a fucking look there like she's not just wearing her street clothes. Is that maybe what you're going for?
That's a part of it. But again, she used to be blonde. Now she's brunette.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the hair. Well, I didn't notice the particular shade, but I saw that she was darker headed than she is now, which again, I would say she needs hair you can see in a big building, but they're in big buildings, but not anybody is that far away in the big building. It's all blocked off. So maybe I don't know. But anyway, so this match went on, and then finally Camille kind of interfered, and Sheeta hit her with the kendo stick, but Mercedes took the stick from Sheeta, and the referee yelled at her, and while the referee was yelling at her, then Camille just hit a big boot on Sheeta, and Mercedes did that fucked up finish, so once again, you can't tell who's giving a bump and who's taking a bump. 1, 2, 3, and that was the first 15 minutes of the show, and what millions of dollars, and Camille has to help her beat Sheeta. Who is Sheeta? That's the point. When Shawn Michaels was having matches with job guys, did Diesel powerbomb him first? If you use her when it matters, then it gets heat. But if it's just, they do everything because they think that's the way everything's supposed to be done. There's a run-in every match. There's interference in every match. There's a fight on the floor in every match. There's goddamn multiple people involved in angles every match where they're getting heat after the match, whether they've won or lost. It's the same over and over with everything. Did you hear that?
I heard that. What do you think, statement-wise, what kind of statement is this? That after everything we heard about with the complaints from Britt Baker, or others maybe, the gardener behind me.
The gardener behind you is pissed off, I can tell.
In terms of the women starting off the show with this, giving it a long time to go. You know, the women's segments have not traditionally drawn people to watch the show. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, he gave Mercedes a gimme because the highest rated quarter hour of their program, regardless of who's on it or what they're doing, is the first quarter, which they took up entirely, and then Britt Baker. Britt Baker over on Baker Street, Britt Baker's music played. And I'll get to I'll tell you about this afterbirth, and I'll get to the point of the thought. Camille sees a fan in a mask like Britt did before over the rail in the front row and pulls her over the rail and beats her up and kicks her. Well, Britt Baker comes in from behind and has a sloppy exchange and puts the lockjaw on Mercedes, and then Camille pulls her out. And then oh my gosh. And the fan that got beat up is never revealed, never seen again, never mentioned again. Is the fan going to sue? Because they just beat up a fucking innocent person, apparently. And then that's not even referred to.
And we've seen that before, too.
So this whole thing could have been done in the middle of the show in 7 to 8 minutes to get Mercedes a quick win, which for the good that's going to do because she's a shits. And then do the angle because you're building your match at the fucking big show. But instead they had between 15 and 20 minutes to just bore the shit out of people and run them off. So, and I'm telling you, that fan, later on in the program, we'll have a number they can call.
Yes, we will.
Yes. Well, this is my show, isn't it?
You usually go from one segment to the other, but we can go.
Yeah, boy, I'd like to go from one segment to the other.
Well, what was the next segment?
Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal and Sanjay and Karen are back in the back talking about Hangnail Page when Page comes in and gets in a big fight with Lethal, and they fight to the ring. Out of the interview that never got started, and the referee rings the bell, and they have a match. They are trying desperately to hook people and keep them somehow on board with this shit, but they think that if they never stop, if they never take a breath, that they'll, which is true, they'll lose people because nobody cares about their goddamn talent. But now I predict they may run them off quicker because this shit never stops. And you're like, what the fuck? And Lethal hits 5 dives in a row out of the ring. And then Page gives Lethal a dead eye, his finish on the apron of the ring. And then they go over the rail into the audience to fight to go to the break. What the fuck? So then when they came back from the break, they were actually in the ring. And I will say again, Jay Lethal could have been a hell of an addition to the roster if they'd have treated him with any kind of fucking respect from the start. But Tony only books indie level guys like Hangnail on top instead of professionals. And Hangnail won with a buckshot lariat 1, 2, 3. What else is there to say?
About this? I mean,
yes, or the state of your goddamn stock portfolio. Anything you care to discuss?
I don't really care to share any of that information. What I want to say is, the last few ratings have been pretty bad, and that was with strong competition. I don't think it's as big or as bad, the competition this week, but this show was so bad with no star power and nothing in advance that looked like it would make you want to watch it. No MJF, no Will Ospreay. They had a video, but that's the hottest and the biggest program in the company, and it was barely even referenced or mentioned. Kyle Fletcher, poor follow-up for everything they tried to do with him last week, right? I mean, if they're trying it with him, was there any follow-up at all this week?
Was that shown or mentioned? Or maybe in one of these packages that, because, Osprey's grinding, so he couldn't be there. He's out grinding. And I guess MJF's probably making him another movie.
He's grinding Tony's weed is what he's grinding.
Well, yeah, they had the video of MJF beating somebody in England. And whoever the guy was that he was beating in England looked very malnourished, and his girlfriend was highly upset about it. Not MJF's girlfriend. The guy's girlfriend was in the ring with him. And then Osprey came out and made a save. This was shot on apparently VHS. I'm not sure. It might have happened in 1996.
Seriously, MJF just wrestled in Mexico. He main evented at Arena Mexico. Now he's in England. They should just air those matches on Dynamite. MJF's the only guy there that can get ratings, and everything they're putting on this show is terrible. Just air MJF around the world.
Hey, but you know what? There could be another meaning to that.
What do you mean?
Well, if they got a video just marked MJF trip around the world, maybe they better screen it first before they air it.
Once again, the perverted thoughts of Jim Cornette do not represent those of the living.
Who else is on this call? So Pac did a promo in the back. He's the #1 contender for the American title. Darby Allin did a promo in the woods talking about Jungle Jackoff and the Buckaroos hiring their friends. And this was interspersed with video of Darby riding a skateboard in the dark. Is this
everything
match...
he said was true, by the way? If you listen to actually what he was saying about the Bucks and everything, that was the funny part.
Well, because now they're just saying it out loud, but they, I don't know what their goal is, but yes, a lot of unqualified people were hired because of these people, so we must hunt them down. Is this match between Darby and Jungle Jack going to be the lowest combined weight ever for a professional wrestling match?
Maybe. Should they take advantage
Not involving the Minis or any of Lord Littlebrook's crew.
Should they take advantage of last week and change his name to Taco Bell Jack Perry?
He needs to make a run for the border.
Or just work some kind of deal with Taco Bell and you could sell the name, 2-for-1 Jack Perry. Taco Tuesday Jack Perry.
How about Chalupa Perry?
That's good.
See? So then Darby, who just was in the woods on the video, made an entrance, and before he could get 10 feet out of the entryway, Jungle Jackoff attacked him from behind and got some sloppy heat on him and took him to the backstage area, and they fought on the equipment cases and trash cans, and then they lowered one of those infamous elephant doors on him. And while he was stuck under the door, Jack is going to try to run the equipment case over him, but security stopped him. And as they were dragging Jungle Jackoff back to his cage or wherever he resides, he was screaming, "I want a coffin match!" This was bad indie wrestling on national television, wasn't it?
Oh, it certainly was. And again, we've seen these gates before. We saw it to Nick Jackson a long time ago, and we've talked about how stupid it is. It's Jack Perry doing it. It's not Hercules Hernandez. It's Jack Perry. Any security guard there could have tackled him and taken him by the throat and thrown him to the ground to get him to stop doing this.
Yeah, there was 8 guys there, and they were like, "Oh my God, what are we going to do? He's gone mad." It was the Mongolian Stomper on the loose, right? Fucking Jack fucking Perry.
And he wants a coffin match for no good reason. And, the one move he has, and he did it when he attacked Darby on the stage, reveal yourself and smirk. That's the only thing he could do. That's what makes him a heel, is that alone. And again, we were hearing that Tony really believed in Jack Perry, wanted to go far with him. And like everyone else, Jack Perry's booking has just completely fallen into the dirt. We'll see what happens here, but I don't think anyone's buying Jack Perry. And again, his whole gimmick is based around CM Punk, so it's counterproductive.
If nobody's buying Jack Perry, maybe they need to reduce the price on him. You know what? That's what they could do. They could say, look, our pay-per-view is going to be $49.95, but if you'll let us put Jack Perry on it, we'll only charge you $39.95.
How much you want to bet they're going to do a glass spot at Wembley?
Well, but how... Will there be a pane of glass over the coffin instead of a lid? Or will there be, when they raise the lid, will the coffin be lined with glass?
What if he says, "Cry me a river," and they throw him in the River Thames?
Cry me a river as I float downstream. I'm shit out of luck up shit creek. Oh, cry me a river. See, we could do something with that.
Well, we'll see what they do with Jack Perry and Darby, but Dynamite continues.
Yes, and speaking of being up shit creek, Maria May did a taped promo about Tony Storm. And then Renee Moxley Good was in the back with Mitsu Arakawa. And she said something, but I don't know what. And she apparently is taking acting lessons from Mercedes because there was that element of dramatic breathiness involved. The WWE has stars talk us to death. AEW forgets the stars part sometimes. And we're just listening to clerks and bank tellers and accountants and goddamn simple, normal, everyday people that don't necessarily need to be on television talk to us, including their main announcer.
You know, the other problem is, and, Mina Shirakawa actually speaks pretty good English, but I think, and I know
Better than you speaks pretty good English.
Better than WWE. Well, let me rephrase that. WWE does things one way. It doesn't mean everyone else should do it. I think AEW is doing way too many backstage promos. I think it hurts the show. I mean, everything hurts the show, but they're doing so many backstage promos with just random people, and then sometimes they're challenging people to matches on other shows you don't watch, and everything feels canned. Like it never feels live or in the moment. All these Renee Paquette segments or interviews in the back all feel like they were taped a week ago every time you see them. Nothing's ever like in the moment. It's almost like you have two shows happening concurrently. The live show and then the tape segments shoved in there. And I think they're doing too many backstage promos.
Well, I think Renee, by the end of the show, she should be sweaty and disheveled because she's running from place to place to do these promos with these people. So then they had Pockets versus Roddy versus Kyle O'Reilly. And all I could think, well, go ahead.
And it's a stipulation. Did you get the stipulation?
Oh, yeah. Whoever wins gets to be the first person in the gauntlet casino blackjack fucking match to determine who gets to be I don't know what.
Are the other two not in the match, or are they just not going to be first in the match? Because why would anyone want to be first?
Why would you want to be first in the match?
That's what I'm saying. Why would anyone want to win the match to be first in the gauntlet?
Because then they got to outlast all the other people. You would think you would have wanted to throw this match, is what you're saying.
Unless the other two are just not in that match, and you're the only one who's going to be in that match of the three. Because otherwise, there's no reason to win.
Oh, God damn it. But why would you want to win something to be number one in the gauntlet?
You wouldn't.
Whether the other two were in it, why would you want to be number one? I'll just not be in it. Instead of letting everybody else beat me up.
I'm going to predict this is going to be the segment that loses the most viewers. Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong versus Kyle O'Reilly.
Well, because it went forever. And again, first of all, I'm personally not insulted, but irritated that as hard as Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong have worked for 15 to 20 years to at least be legitimate athletes and put some work into their craft, and this is how Tony decides to insult them by not only putting them in a match with the company fucking mascot, but then having them put him over. They ought to double team spit in Tony's face. It's like Nick Goulas brought in Ric Flair and Harley Race to have them take bumps for my son George. Go to bed, Georgie. It's fucking, and then it went across the 9 o'clock hour, but as a way to apparently hook the fans at 9 o'clock that might be switching by, they had Taven and Bennett and Mark Briscoe and Ishii, the Japanese Pillsbury Doughboy, interfere in the match and get in a big fight and do a dive and then leave. And the match went another 10 fucking minutes after the run-ins. And then the mascot wins. This is another thing. If Tony Khan ever wanted any normal people to watch this show and give it a chance and take it seriously, to be involved in the fucking thing, every time he puts this fucking jack-off little joke on television at all, much less in a position of prominence, much less winning things, over supposed other real professional wrestlers is the only way you can draw money with this fucking guy or get anybody to want to watch this is if you promote you will set fire to Orange Cassidy on live TV, not as a gimmick with gel and a flamethrower, but for real. We're going to pour gasoline on this fucking annoying fuck, this joke, this disrespectful piece of shit, and we're going to set him on fire for your enjoyment. Otherwise, that's why normal people don't watch this fucking program.
I don't think there's as big an audience to watch Orange Cassidy in Flames today as there was a few years ago. That's the sad part.
Most of the people have given up hope that would happen and just quit watching entirely. And then why were Claudio and Okody in the big pre-taped interview with Renee Moxley Good? Why are they upset with each other? And they're going to fight next week in Cardiff. They're going to do Dynamite in Cardiff. After somebody has carted off
that'll be good.
All of their viewers.
No, that'll be good because the UK fans sing and there hasn't been any pulse from the AEW fans on Dynamite in years.
Well, Claudio was the well-spoken babyface, and Okody looks like a bleach blonde Japanese accountant. It wandered in, and the only word that he enunciated clearly was bitch. And this cost Tony Khan more millions of dollars. This fucking joke. It just shows up to do a comedy line every once in a while. And then when he does get in the ring, it's like he was put together with fucking paper clips and scotch tape, and if he falls down, his body parts will fly apart.
Again, with Okada, it's the material. He speaks fine English. They gave him bad material. I'd rather listen to him talk than Claudio. Claudio's a fucking bore.
Well, this was a snooze fest all the way around.
You brought up Ishii before. We have not seen it. I may have it on my DVR still, but we had a lot of listeners tell us we had to watch Ishii versus Swerve Strickland on Collision, that it was embarrassingly bad was the way it was put to me. And then other people from Campbell by the Sea may have been defending it, saying that, Ishii's one of the great sellers and Terry Funk would have loved him.
What? Wait, what? What does he sell? Nobody will even touch him with the shit they're hitting him with as a work.
Well, it was the forearms.
And he sells nothing.
It was, I believe, the forearms from him and Swerve back and forth that people were citing, but I've not watched it. So
I've seen that movie, though. Every time that there's a forearm around Ishii, it's either phony looking or not sold or both. But anyway, have you noticed that in Christian Cage's group, that Nick Plain's mom is the second biggest person in it?
You've pointed this out several times, yes.
Well, Renee Moxley Good had an interview with them. And then the fireball that Jericho burned Hook with was replayed because Tony Schiavone was in the ring with Hook to do a live interview. Hook, who never speaks. Now we know why. Nobody could help this fucking kid not make an imbecile out of himself. Tony Schiavone, 40 years as a wrestling announcer, gives him the most awkward fucking question to respond to ever. Well, the thing everybody want to know, how's your eye? Hook has come out wearing a white wife beater, exposing his New York tan. He was barely any darker than the fucking wife beater, but he's wearing the fucking, what do they call it? The stocking cap or the ski cap, or what are those kind of caps?
I know what you're talking about. I don't know what the official name is.
Well, it's not a hoodie, because but it's the fucking cap. But he's got half of his head wrapped up like Boris Karloff in The Mummy, trying to sell his eye that he supposedly can't see out of. But you can see that all they've done is wrap him with gauze. There's no eye patch over the eye underneath the gauze. You can see through the gauze. Whoever approved that didn't talk to Doc Sampson or some doctor that might have ever bandaged an eye. And he's wearing the cap. He looked like this is the time. Come out, dressed like a goddamn adult, with the demeanor of a goddamn adult, and talk like a goddamn adult about what you're going to do to Chris Jericho. Instead, he leaned into the camera so you could see that perfectly clean snow white gauze that had just been put on him fucking 5 minutes beforehand, still wearing that fucking goofy cap, and screamed what he was going to do to Chris Jericho. And while he's weighing 150 pounds, he looked like a teenager on the street yelling into somebody's phone to do a TikTok video. Everybody let him down on that one. From makeup to goddamn creative to fucking production. And then Jericho and Big Bill and Brian Keith came out and said Hook's a stupid son of a bitch and he ain't going to fight him tonight. It'll be at Wembley. And that's going to be his last chance at the FTW title. And next week in Cardiff, it's Hook versus Big Bill. Hook is 160 fucking pounds and Big Bill's 7 feet tall. So let's do everything we can to make the fucking babyface look like he's a goddamn middle schooler before he fights Jericho. Are you following any of this, Brian?
And then you get to see Big Bill potentially choked out by Hook.
And well, that'll be icing on the cake.
The Chris Jericho stuff's been awful. Hook's booking is bad. I don't know what his potential or what his ceiling is or isn't. At least it wasn't another person with just an eye patch. We've seen that like 20 times on AEW.
And they couldn't even sandpaper his face a little bit? Because it was a fireball. It wasn't just a fucking poke in the eye with a sharp stick. He'd have some residual damage all around that. I think maybe they sandpaper him a little bit. Towel it.
Maybe Jericho can make the fireball like a real kind of thing. Like incorporate things that he really does. Like take a big swig of vodka and spit the vodka into the flame.
Well, they taught Ricky Steamboat how to blow fire to be the dragon. So Jericho's already got a mouthful of vodka ready to go at any point. He could just, if you just hold the fucking Bic lighter up in front of him, he could pretty much do it on the fly.
Oh, he's going to give him the Grey Goose. He's going to give him the Grey Goose. And there it is. I don't know what sound you just tried to make.
That was the blowing of the fire.
Oh. Oh, now I understand.
Yeah. So then came the Buckaroos, the Hardley Boys, the Cucamonga Kids, the Lollipop Guild.
Did you hear what they said right at the start of this? They said, we don't have any more commercials tonight. And there was a lot of time to go.
Oh, yeah. Well, this match went forever. I had to shave twice during this match.
These are always the lowest segments on the show. Is there a chance they can't get sponsors for the last segments of Dynamite? Or why would they all of a sudden have no sponsors for this?
No, it was their last commercial. They had no more commercial breaks because they had taken them earlier in the show because it's another ploy to try to artificially inflate their sagging numbers in the last half hour of the program. Because if they figure the more, we always lose viewers in the last part of the program, right? So if we give them a commercial break, that's a chance for somebody to tune out and not come back. So let's use all of our breaks up earlier in the show and not have as many at the end of the program to give people a chance to escape. That is the stratagem being employed.
Right. I mean, how long did we get counting the overrun? Was it like 25 minutes, almost 30 minutes with no commercials, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
So we'll see when the numbers come out because we are still unaware of those. We're vamping on the program until those come out. But nevertheless, that's what the theory behind it is. Whether it'll work or not, who knows? Because they're always playing with the numbers or trying to massage the numbers, as a former bookkeeping type in a wrestling company used to say. But that's what, so then this was technically the main event spot where it's going to be the Buckaroos, even though Swerve has a match in the main event against Wheeler Useless. More on that in a minute. But again, here come Maddie and Nikki, and the Acclaim jump them in the entranceway. They ain't got 10 feet through the fucking entrance, and boom, and they're again. And they have a sloppy fight on the stage and on the floor, and then they go to the ring and the bell rings. And it went forever. And you can imagine, it just, if you've seen one, you've seen them all. And then they squash the referee in the corner. Of course, it's the corpse referee, so it looks like he's a gentle breeze from death at any point anyway. How can he get licensed at his age? What is he now, 75, 80?
I don't even think he's that old, which makes it even worse. What do you think of the fact that crowd went completely silent at times?
Well, that's the thing, is nobody gives a shit. And they do these fucking goofy finishes and nobody gives a shit. Where they squash the referee and then Matt kicks Caster in the balls and gets the title belt. And he's going to hit him, but Dax comes out and snatches it. And he draws back and Maddie covers up like funny, like, ooh, don't hit me. But then when he realizes he ain't going to hit him, he spits at him. And then Dax, instead of hitting him with the belt, tackles him. And immediately the referee pops up and calls for a disqualification. And the people are like, what the fuck? What is all this? And the Acclaimed are mad at FTR and they argue and security comes in. And the Buckaroos leave and the fans don't give a shit. And it's been 15 minutes easily of fucking television. And then they go to the back and there's Renee with Christopher Daniels, who makes an awkward announcement. Because now he's authority again. That, FTR is going to fight the Acclaimed on Saturday on Collision. And the winners of that match will face the Buckaroos for the tag team title at Wembley Stadium. Because this was the first time that the Buckaroos had a title match in 4 months since they won the fucking thing, right? And now probably, because this is what indies do, mud shows do, small-minded people do, they're going to have some other kind of fuck up, and they're going to have a 3-way tag team match instead of a legitimate match between all 3 of these teams so they can all vault off each other. And FTR, the only really full-grown men, can be the catchers. Is that where we're going with this?
I think where we're going is no one caresville. And that's the sad thing. There was clunkiness to the finish. When Dax got in there, there was like a clunkiness with the timing of everything. Did you notice that?
Yes. But I always notice clunkiness when the Buckaroos are involved because they don't do things naturally.
Yeah, this tag team division is, it needs some help. That's all I'll say. I mean, Bucks wrestled FTR last year at Wembley. I guess you're giving those fans there a version of that once again. That was the least acclaimed of their matches. The one people talked about the least coming out of it. So let's do it again. But with the Acclaim, but now with rap.
Now with greener people involved.
Billy Gunn got a bigger pop than every one of those tag teams.
And when the Acclaimed are out there, man, when Billy Gunn comes out, yay, let's do something now.
Because he didn't come out with them for no good reason. All of a sudden, he just showed up in the middle of the match to get a pop.
Well, yeah, whenever he shows up, he is the most over person in any combination of the Acclaimed, FTR, and the Buckaroos right now. Because FTR, they don't give a shit anymore. They've been booked into insensibility. So anyway,
speaking of booking, what did you say?
Into insensibility and beyond.
Insensibility. In terms of booking insensibility, let's talk about the main event. I believe that was up next.
Well, no. You can't skip over the Bryan Danielson video.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And Tony, you paid for some more music. Green Day. Do you know what the actual title is? I hope you had the time of your life. Do you know what the actual title of that song is?
Hepatitis.
No.
Oh, I don't know.
Good Riddance.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I do know that.
Yes. And I used that on the video for the Ohio Valley Wrestling Last Dance event at the Louisville Gardens, when we had all the pictures of all of the great memories that had gone on and the old time stars and the back when the kids were kids and the men were men and the sheep were scared and all that type of thing.
This is a great video to point out how much more interesting Bryan Danielson was on the indies than he is right now.
Well, that's the thing. This was not really great nostalgia as much as old VHS of indie shows mixed in with some AEW clips. And yeah, it looked like Bryan had more fun going on back then. But here's what I want to just ask you, and then we'll move on to the main event, which ain't going to take long. Have they what the fuck is what I want to ask you. So here's the situation we've got. We have Bryan Danielson, who the fans like and respect probably more than anybody else, almost anybody on this roster. Fair to say?
Maybe. In terms of respect, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
He's one of the more popular guys that they have, especially with the core audience. And so they put him against Swerve, who was their babyface world champion until they kind of made him look like shit. And then people kind of didn't care. So now they've switched him back full-fledged heel, apparently, for the world title. But before they announced this match, the people already know that Bryan Danielson has said that his contract is up and that he's promised his daughter he's going to quit wrestling full-time to spend more time with her. And so he's only at this point going to wrestle intermittently in things he wants to do or places he wants to go. Right?
Right. He himself has announced that, yes.
Right. And then he comes out and says on television, if I don't beat you, Swerve, and win the world title, I'll never wrestle again. Ever. Anywhere is the inference here. So either they're going to beat Bryan Danielson in his last match, which would be kind of the rule of thumb in wrestling. If you're retiring, you're not coming back. Put the guy over. But then not only is it somewhat of a downer for his apparently last or AEW match or last major stadium match or whatever the fuck, not only is it a bummer that he gets beat, but also that would mean he's decided he's never going to wrestle again anywhere, right? Or elsewise he'd be a bald-faced liar. So if he loses, it has to be his last match. But if he wins, then you put the world title on a guy that has already said he only wants to wrestle intermittently. And one would think that then you would just be doing it for the moment, but you've beaten your world champion that you've already booked pretty badly, and you've eliminated the opportunity for another of your full-time talents, such as Will Ospreay or MJF, to win the fucking world title and continue its lineage. How do you do this, and who fucking comes out ahead here?
I mean, I think they booked themselves to the point where if Danielson doesn't win, you have a problem, because either that means he's going away right then and there and he's never coming back, or he's going to come back under a mask, which I don't think they'll do. So then he's
the Midnight Rider.
So then he's beating Swerve, and the fans, you would think the AEW fans get a happy short title run with an expiration date, unless you're going to make him a part-time world champion who's never around, who doesn't do any TVs ever again, which may be the best thing for AEW, to have a strong world champion who's never on these shows. I don't know, but we'll see what they do. He hasn't said he's going to fully retire. He said he's going to just wrestle every now and then, but he's going to be retired from full-time, from attending wrestling shows once a week.
Yeah.
I think they kind of have to put the belt on him, don't you? They need some kind of happy moment to end that show.
Well, but I thought that was going to be Ospreay beating MJF, because how they've known they were going to do Wembley for a fucking year. And so how have you not manipulated it some way to where that Will Ospreay will win the match in his fucking home country in the big stadium show, whatever the match might be? But then you're cutting MJF off when he's just getting started with this whole American title thing. So I don't know what they're fucking doing.
Unless Ospreay doesn't win. And again, remember, they have a pay-per-view, 2 weeks later to set up in Chicago?
Well, then maybe Ospreay wins over there and then MJF fucking beats him back on good old American soil.
And again, there's Fletcher and Callis. You got to think they're going to be involved, and there's a way to make it so that MJF doesn't lose the title right away, gets a longer run with it, and Ospreay has something else to do.
God damn it. Again, they knew they were going to do this for a year. So anyway,
you say they, it's Tony. It's well, he, him.
The royal they. Swerve wrestled Wheeler useless in the main event. The bell rang for 5 minutes to 10 o'clock. And the emaciated Shell Station attendant went toe-to-toe with the world champion for a little while, but then Swerve got some heat on him and kicked him in the head and beat the shit out of him, and the referee stopped it. And Danielson came in to break it up, and Swerve bailed out and cut a promo on him from the aisleway. And then, after saying he would beat Bryan Danielson up in front of his daughter at Wembley Stadium, then he turned around and left, and Danielson went to check on Useless, and Swerve ran back out and kicked Danielson in the back of the head.
That looked good. That looked good. That was the best thing of the whole thing. The kick to the back of the head looked good.
Yeah, I believe you know why it looked good.
Because he kicked him right in the back of the head.
I believe because it was a tater. His boots were made out of potatoes. He kicked him right in the head.
You know, again, you want to tell the story of him having to beat the protege of Danielson. I think they've wasted a lot of time with Yuta being the guy they've put in this position to be that guy. He just doesn't look the part. And I don't think it works at all. So Swerve took a little while to beat a guy that looks like he would have been a jobber on TV. Sorry, Dustin. Looks like he would have been an enhancement talent on Superstars in 1990.
He would have been a jabroni on anything in 1990.
So yeah, they've done no favors to Swerve. Swerve probably hasn't done himself any favors either, just in terms of the creative stuff. And the only thing I think people care about in AEW right now is the MJF Ospreay stuff. And that's obviously not as hot as things have been in the past, but it was almost not on this show at all. That's the biggest thing in the company. Nothing about Kyle Fletcher. They had the MJF video early, the MJF Ospreay video early in the show, and the stuff from England. They had to be more in the second hour. I mean, they should be just pounding. That's the big feud they have right now. It gets mentioned in a segment, and then it gets ignored the rest of the show.
How are they gonna pound it when neither guy's there? Did they have to fly over early to do publicity or something?
I don't think they had to, but Ospreay's obviously from England, and MJF he just wrestled in England. I don't know if he's still there or where he is. Maybe got a few week vacation out of it. I don't know. It's Tony Khan. You never know.
Well, anyway, where's the plumber? Where's Moxley?
He's taking a break from AEW.
He's go ahead.
To lose in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fights that keep popping up, or not even grappling tournaments that keep popping up online.
From Newport, Kentucky. But he just gets to go maybe he's giving us a break, is what it is. But he gets to go whenever he wants to.
Do you think you need, again, we're not Moxley fans, and there has been talk in the past that he has after booking vacation or time off, and he canceled it because AEW needed him. Everyone wants time off. Does AEW need someone with his stature in the company on a Wembley? Or is it okay for a guy like that to miss that show?
Well, my personal preference aside, he's the worst wrestler in the world, and I could go the rest of my life without seeing him and never miss a second of it. He's one of the fucking big, high-paid, alleged names in the company. If I was Tony Khan and I'm running Wembley Stadium, I am packing this thing with To quote MGM, more stars than there are in the heavens. And the idea that this is not all hands on deck is just insane to me. Not that you want to book 150 fucking guys on one show, but you want to book the 30 biggest fucking names you've got on the thing, don't you?
You would think so, and we will preview the pay-per-view a little bit later. But Jim, that was AEW Dynamite.
It certainly was.
We shall return with the ratings right after this short travel through time. It doesn't seem to want to stop. Let me.
Yeah. Everybody wants it to stop, but it doesn't seem to want to.
We are here once again in the future. This amazing ability that we have. We are the only wrestling podcast I know of that travels through time. And we are here once again. Any thoughts on this travel through time, Jim?
Well, yeah. Well, I had a thought, but it died of loneliness. No, I had a thought while we were on the ship, hurtling through space, all the fucking cosmic rays and everything. But we've just talked about AEW television, and we took a break so the ratings could come out. And in that interim period, Brian, I've started to realize what's going on here with some of these people that Tony's been signing. And you know what a rope-a-dope is, don't you? Yeah, the old rope-a-dope.
Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman.
Yeah, where, he just let him punch himself out. I wonder if this is a modified game of Lube the Rube. Now think about this for a second.
Where are we going right now?
Well, no,
exactly.
Because I know Vince is no longer there. Vince McMahon is no longer there, but that doesn't mean that in some cases they might not use some of the same business practices or tactics. And when the Midnight Express and I talked to Vince that first time in 1986, and we decided not to do it because we had such a great spot with Crockett. But one of the things that he told us was, he said, if you need to, use me to drive your price up. And coincidentally, we didn't even have to, it didn't come to that, because when Tully's friend, oh God, what was his name? John, I think, worked at fucking US Air, saw us in Charlotte on the flight to New York, and word got back to Crockett. That was when he presented us with we were on a contract. I think the guarantee we had at that point was like $75,000 a year. And we got the 3-year contract for $375 guaranteed, which in today's money is somewhere around, $1.4 million probably. But anyway.
So John told Tully, and then what happened? In your eyes, how did Tully leak this back to the office?
Well, no, John Valdostri was his name. It wasn't that necessarily that Tully did it, but John knew the boys. Charlotte was a US Air hub back before they absorbed Piedmont Airlines, which that was the airline that Crockett flew a lot of guys on out of Charlotte. And he worked there, and so he would upgrade guys, and he would help guys change flights, and because the boys were always going in and out. And he and Tully were especially friendly, but he knew a lot of the guys. He fixed all of us up. But the thing is, when we went on a day off where we thought that, okay, we're just going to get in one car, we're going to go to the airport, we're going to take this flight, we're meeting Vince, not at the office, but at a hotel in Stamford, and then we're going to back and boom, and nobody will ever know we were gone. We're boarding the fucking plane. The first person we run into is John Valdostri, and he looked up at the fucking to LaGuardia. And we said, hey, John. And he never, where's the other boys? Oh, they must be going somewhere else. I don't know what we said, right? So coincidentally, like I said, immediately upon the next week or whatever was when Crockett had those guaranteed money contracts. So anyway, I've also heard Vince McMahon from his own lips say that to other people. Use me to get more money out of them. And he did that for Bret Hart, to be quite honest, when he let him out of the day. Use me to get your fucking deal back or whatever. Don't blah, blah, blah. That's all been regurgitated over and over. How many people that the WWE and Tony Khan that we know, I'm not saying a bidding war where they're like doing the fucking Storage Wars auction, 1,000,005, 1,000,007. But how many people were both talking to both companies and Tony won out? We heard about Will Ospreay, famous for the grind, right? Did he want the grind or did he not want the grind? We don't know about the grind. And Okada, people were saying, oh, they're talking to Okada. Well, maybe they wanted to get into Japan. And Mercedes Moon.
Yeah, right before she signed with Tony, all of a sudden we started hearing that she was negotiating with WWE again.
Yes. And then you can further remember when they were talking to the Buckaroos. And remember when Edge was coming, Edge left and Tony gave him a better deal. And you could say the same about Mark Henry. When he left, he wanted to be more involved in either training or whatever he's wanted, and they didn't apparently want him. But he got a lot of money to do very little in AEW for the past 3 or 4 years. And then that deal is up. And when that deal is up, his son suddenly signs with NXT and he's back on the television. The point I'm making is Tony's winning a lot of these, right? What if they're fake fucking finishes? Because it wasn't something that Vince wouldn't do to say, hey, you might not want to come now, but you might want to come later. But right now, he always wanted to babyface himself to the boy, use me to get more money. Well, what if they're talking to these people that, let's say, that I am the WWE and I make a lot of money, and you, Brian Last, are Tony Khan and you have a lot of money. And I know that you want to sign the newest indie darling or somebody from another country or Jack Double Barrel Cannon. Everybody's all making a big deal on the internet about Jack Double Barrel Cannon. So what if I call old Jack Cannon in and say, I'll give you $1 million. But of course, I'm going to own your name and I'll change it. And I'm going to own your likeness and intellectual property. And you're going to work X hundred days a year, and give him a sales pitch that you don't necessarily want him to take. But you've set an offer, a price. And then old Jack Cannon goes over to fucking Tony. Tony says, well, I'll give you $1.5 million and you can own your shit, or you can be an actor, or you can only work 1 day a week, or you don't have to come then if you don't want to, or all the ancillary things that everybody that signs with AEW says they love about the company and the job. And then the WWE, they particularly may not have wanted the fucking guy to begin with, but since they've got billions of dollars, if they fuck up and get one every once in a while, who gives a shit? Meanwhile, they're setting Tony's price that he's got to beat and treat him like bosom buddies too. And Tony's winning more of these than he's losing. And I'm starting to think that in some cases, what do you think? Is the WWE serious, or are they saying, let's see if we can lube the rube?
But there's an important thing that you're not putting into the equation here. When Vince McMahon would deliberately say that to both make himself a babyface to talent, but also because that's what he wanted. He wanted competitors like Vern Gagne, specifically Jim Crockett Jr., but he wanted Bill Watts, everyone. He wanted everyone to overpay because he knew that they were wrestling promoters living on the money of wrestling. You don't have that with Tony Khan. It doesn't mean they have billions. He's got billions. His dad's got billions. So it's not like it even affects him in any way, unless at some point his dad said, let's see the P&L. Let me see how much you're spending versus how much you're actually generating. But we haven't seen any sign that that's going to happen.
Well, no, but here's the thing. It's not like it's going to be the end of the company. It's fun. It's fucking fun. Brian, let's say somebody stole some money from you and me. We would have fun, even if it cost us more money, bringing that motherfucker to a miserable point in his life, right?
I can't comment on anything that may involve pending litigation, but
so I'm just saying.
But you can't take things lying down. You have to make sure that you teach people a lesson. One of the lessons has to be you can't do this shit again to anyone else, and you will respect that shit.
Okay, we're starting to take a sad trip, but I was just giving you a for instance. And the point is, what if Nick Khan and Triple H and a bunch of the gang are sitting up there going, I wonder how much you'll pay for this fucking guy. Let's offer him $1.5 million a year for 3 years and see if Tony will beat it.
But they know he will. I mean, it's not even.
Yes, and it's fun to watch him because now.
That's
ridiculous. The thing.
They wanted Okada. They wanted these guys. Tony offered them,
but
not just more lucrative deals, but just better for the wrestler, not necessarily the promotion. The fact that Ospreay's flying home all the time and just yeah. They couldn't match that.
I'm saying if I was still in a Stamford office, I could see a bunch of people having fun with this. Even if they want somebody, if they know that Tony's going to goddamn break the bank, as they say, why not? Well, let's see how far he'll go. Let's bid, and it'd just be fun. Maybe they've got an office pool going. I'm just telling you.
And then it really screws up the talent on the other end. Like Okada's probably on the back end of his career in the States.
You think?
But he signed a long-term deal with Tony. I don't know if he's going to sign with WWE after that or just go back home. Ospreay's still young. Mercedes Moné.
Ooh.
Let's just put a number out there. Let's say she's getting $5 million a year.
No, Jesus Christ.
Let's say she's going to get that for a number of years. Notwithstanding if she boosts merch, ticket sales, pay-per-view buys, streams, whatever it may be at that point, she's going to get that money. At the end of that contract, Tony will have to ask himself, what am I going to do? Am I going to continue on at this rate? Or am I going to move on? If he moves on, she's never going to get that kind of money anywhere else. It almost screws her. Not that she doesn't want the money right now, but she's now locked into
Why would you need money after that?
People need money.
Oh, give me $5 million a year for 3 years and see if you ever talk to my fat ass again.
What kind of challenge is this? I'll take the same challenge. Give me $5 million for 3 years.
Well, give me 6.
Oh, fuck. Come on.
Yeah, see, that's the way it works. You bid the thing up.
Selfish.
No, I don't give a fuck how old you, unless you're a complete fucking nitwit who wants to drive a fucking Maserati around and act like a goddamn movie star. If you make $15 million over a 3-year period and you ever work again, you're a fucking moron. Unless you want to. Where were we going with that? Anyway,
Maserati is nice to drive like once if it's not yours and you don't have to worry about any of the bills for it. That's my experience.
But anyway, I'm just saying that it would be fun. They know that Daddy got money. You're a rich kid. They know Daddy got money, but it would still be fun to make the other guy spend more than he needs to, and certainly more than a commodity or a product or a piece of merchandise or an action figure or whatever is worth to get it. So there could be some shenanigans taking place, is what I'm trying to say to you.
This also goes to the bigger problem with AEW, the culture of AEW, I guess we'll say, Tony Khan's leadership. In the early days, not that money wasn't the primary thing for a lot of talent, but in the early days, there was a positive energy around it publicly.
Yes.
And it was a wonderful place to work. And there was no drama. And the locker room kept secrets. Remember, Brody Lee was sick. No one said a word. This is the same locker room, some different people, but a lot of the same people. And they talk about all sorts of shit now. And
you can't shut them up.
Now you have to overpay to get someone there because it's like WCW in the early 90s. It's not a place you want to be if you're serious about your career. You want to get the fuck away from Tony. It's not, see, that's the thing. You have to almost separate AEW, the idea of a number 2 promotion that's well-funded, with the fact that it's run and always going to be run by Tony Khan. Because Tony is the core problem. If you are a great talent and you deserve all the money you're getting, and he's the person overseeing your booking and formatting the show, your career's going to die. He's not capable of doing it. He's not good at it. He's proven it, and he's not capable of doing it. That's the thing. But you'll go there and you'll get a bunch of money. You'll get to book programs with you and your friends. But the other thing, going back to your point, Jim Crockett having to start paying guys more and more to keep them from WWE is a contributing factor to Jim Crockett Promotions' financial problems.
Actually, I can disagree with you on that. And here's why.
You think it's just the pay-per-view?
It was the promotions and the TV network and the costs of doing that. Because here's the thing, the contract that he signed with us in, May 1986 was $100,000 first year, $125,000 second year, $150,000 the third year, guaranteed minimum. We made much more than that the first year and more than that the second year, and then the following year we renegotiated. And even though we didn't make as much as we should have from Crockett, the point I'm making is that us as main event talent, we were still on payoffs on the houses, making more money than our minimum guarantee. But what was an extreme drain and burden is the expansion of buying the different promotions and then going into Florida, going into Kansas City, then expanding across the country with live events, and then the big UWF thing. That was the fucking problem. And the plane. And the goddamn...
The second plane, yeah.
The second plane. And the office in Dallas. Because it was a major media center where the brain fucks that said they were going to make all this money on fucking syndicated television were headquartered.
Well, then here's the question. Are we to believe then that all of that would have been paid off if Starrcade had not been fucked with by Vince? Or that there would have still been financial problems even if Starrcade had come off without a hitch and had however many pay-per-view buys across the country?
Well, okay, examine this. Crockett was $2 million in the hole. $2 million, which today is like goddamn catering. But he was $2 million in the hole when he said, oh shit, we got to sell. We're worried about our mother's retirement. So that was not even the amount of money that they had spent on these promotions and the fucking TV network and blah, blah, blah. If they hadn't done that and concentrated on what they had, they to that point would not really have lost money. Or if Starrcade had gone through, God damn it, what was it then? Was it $30? And the cable system got a little over half. So if they'd have $10, let's say they got $10 for each pay-per-view. And they did in those days. What was Vince doing? What did the Great American Bash do? I can't remember. I ain't got it in front of me. But our first, let's say it was full cable coverage and it did 100,000 buys at $10. There's $1 million. That's half the amount they were in the hole when they were panicking. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't like, oh God, this is a catastrophe. It was only a catastrophe to somebody that was not used to losing 7 figures over the course of like a year in the wrestling business.
Well, Vince's objective in doing that and saying that was to drain these guys. That was one of his goals in the wrestling wars, was he knew he could drain his opponents of assets. In fighting him and doing what they could to keep him away, they were going to kill themselves and lose talent in the process. Tony is a different animal. Like I said, with him, you can't worry about draining him of money. There's no talent that'll cost more than that video game. You can't think of it that way. So with that, it's just about how much will he pay. The joke's on you if you're laughing and he's shrugging and he doesn't give a fuck. He's Richie Rich.
Yeah, but I still think there's money to be made in the WWE and the office pool that they would take on. Will he give $3 million to this fucking schlub?
Who's the next one?
That's all I'm saying.
How much you think he's going to give Ricochet?
Oh, he'll break the bank for him because then he can team him up with Hologram and it can be Hologram and Telegram.
Oh, no, I think he wants to do Will Ospreay versus Ricochet. That was the big Indie or New Japan match.
Oh, good Lord. Well, I'm sure that, but yeah, Ricochet is set.
Does Ricochet get 7 figures a year from Tony?
Well, with the with the financial scale that the WWE is on now, even a guy that's in the middle or upper middle may be approaching that. So I think he almost has to. Besides, didn't he give fucking Riho $400,000? So if Riho is $400,000 to work 8 times a year, then I think you got to give Ricochet $1 million, don't you?
Do you think Riho will work 8 times in 2024? Has she worked that many times? She couldn't have.
I think she's hurting. Yeah. So, he's running the motion picture country home for wrestlers.
Jeez. It's amazing too. It's like, again, all the big money people who are the big star, like Kenny Omega's just been gone forever. I know he has, allegedly, diverticulitis, but there's a major salary, a major star off the TV. They signed his buddy Ibushi. That was a fucking disaster. He's still under contract. We'll see him. He's coming back at some point when he has feet or whatever the hell his problem was.
They signed him for all his money and then they amputated his fucking feet.
Nakazawa, who has a great job, apparently he's just with Kenny. He doesn't even have to, do anything else. And then Riho, now she's hurt again.
Moxley's on vacation again.
Adam Cole has moved back to Pennsylvania. Wardlow is missing in action.
Wait a minute, he didn't beat Miro. Miro went to fucking Romania, didn't he? Or is that where he's from?
No, Bulgaria.
I knew it was one of them areas.
That's right. Miro, you can put Miro on the list. I think he's still under contract. Miro's in Bulgaria. Who else? Wardlow.
Well, we can't remember who all has disappeared, but they're still getting paid.
Is Hobbs hurt or?
Hobbs is hurt.
Takeshita's in Japan.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Anna Jay's in Japan. I've seen footage of that. She looks great over there. I always told you, and all the women there
look differently over there than she does over here.
Well, she's a very attractive woman, but what she's doing over there, the idea of making her a little better by having her work over there, when she gets to NXT, she'll be the biggest star they have there because I think she still has more upside than almost any woman in AEW. But she's not on their show now. And their show is just rotten. It's just rotten.
Well, speaking of which, did anybody watch this particular program they did Wednesday night or not, or last night, or whenever the night? We've traveled through time. I've lost track.
This was Wednesday night. It is still, Dynamite is still on Wednesdays in the future.
Well, yes, but the day that we are talking about it could have not been last night, except if it was the night before.
Well, AEW Dynamite, August 14th, 2024. On TBS from 8 to 10:07 p.m. On average, watched by 703,000 viewers.
Wow!
Dynamite ranked number 1 for the day on cable in men 18 to 49.
But, okay, so, because I was going to dispute something, Tony Khan tweeted out, apparently, that they were number 1 on cable for the whole day and just put a period on it.
18 to 49.
Okay. So now that might make a little sense, but no, they were not the most watched program on cable television on Wednesday over all the programs and all the networks. That would be stretching credulity somewhat.
Yeah, but they're losing. I'm looking at the breakdown here. WrestleNomics is the one who compiled all this. Men 18 to 34, 60,000 viewers, down 6%. So that one keeps going down.
Well, but now the Olympics are dusted, done and dusted, as they say across the pond, right?
I believe so, yes.
So they got an extra, 80,000, 85,000 or whatever people to come back from the last couple of weeks.
That's right. All right, let's go to the quarterly breakdown here.
Well, don't make me twist your arm or anything.
This will tell the real story of what's going on. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. Once again, these were compiled by WrestleNomics. Mercedes Moné versus Hikaru Shida, and the post-match with Camille and Stone Cold Britt Baker, 836,000 viewers.
And I believe I predicted and predicated earlier when we were talking about it, well, that's going to be the highest quarter hour, so it doesn't really prove anything with Mercedes in it because it's always the highest quarter hour. Was that indeed the highest quarter hour?
It was indeed the highest quarter hour, not in the key demo, but in the overall number.
So what did that first segment have on the second segment?
Well, the second segment, with no 1 minute of the Big Bang Theory to start off, 8:15 to 8:30 p.m., the Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Hangman Adam Page backstage angle leading to Lethal versus Page with picture-in-picture, and an MJF Will Ospreay video, 755,000 viewers.
Okay, honestly, that's not as big a drop as they usually do. Last week, I think it was like 100,000 or more, wasn't it? So they only lost, Thursday, 45, said 81,000 people.
Now, this is the high point in the 18 to 49-year-old male category, 347,000 viewers. Quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. An ad break, the Pac and Darby Allin backstage promos, Jack Perry and Darby Allin's backstage angle, an ad break, 706,000 viewers.
Ouch. Okay, so I don't know whether the ad breaks drove them away or whether it was the backstage promos that drove them away, but they lost another 49,000. Okay, now they might better stabilize pretty soon or they're not going to hit their average.
Well, there was a segment I predicted earlier would be the one to drive away the most viewers. Let's see what this did. 8:45 to 9 p.m., quarter 4. The Mariah May promo, the Mina Shirakawa promo, and the start of Roderick Strong versus Orange Cassidy versus Kyle O'Reilly. 666,000 viewers.
Oh, 666, the mark of the beast. In this case, it's the mark of the mascot.
Just the mark.
No, the mark is the one paying the mascot. So there's another 40,000. And now we have lost 170,000 viewers in the first hour.
Well, we now go to hour 2, the big 9 o'clock hour, quarter 5, 9 to 9:15 p.m. The continuation of Strong versus Cassidy versus O'Reilly with picture-in-picture ads. The Claudio Castagnoli, Kazuchika Okada backstage face-to-face promo, and an ad break, 684,000 viewers.
Okay, so 18,000 curious people wandered in at the top of the hour and began wondering what they were watching.
Well, they continued that wander into quarter 6, 9:15 to 9:30 p.m. The Christian Cage backstage promo, the Hook and Learning Tree confrontation, an ad break, and the start of Young Bucks versus the Acclaimed with no more commercials the rest of the show. Actually, that's not true. But Young Bucks versus the Acclaimed, 684,000 viewers.
So, well, that's odd. That's completely flat, so it's neither good nor bad. It's indifferent, is what it is.
Well, the indifference continues into quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. The Young Bucks versus the Acclaim continued. 2 rounds of picture-in-picture. 678,000 viewers.
God, okay, so 6,000 more people again said the Young Bucks this long, no thank you, please.
Well, let's please go to quarter 8. I remind you there's a 7-minute overrun. 9:45 to 10 p.m. Young Bucks versus the Acclaim continued. The post-match with FTR, Billy Gunn. Oh, and that's it. FTR and Billy Gunn. A Christopher Daniels backstage promo, the Bryan Danielson video, and the start of Swerve Strickland versus Wheeler Yuta. 661,000 viewers.
Oh.
7-minute overrun. Continuation of Strickland versus Yuta and the Danielson-Strickland live angle. 606,000 viewers.
Jesus Christ. They've killed Modern Family. Modern Family, by the way, is following again instead of Impractical Jokers. Maybe they're taking turns so as not to damage either program. All right, so in regulation, they went from 836 to 661. That's a loss of 175,000 people. And then they dropped another 55,000 in the last 5 minutes of the thing.
Hold on, I'm pulling up the true number, taking out the first quarter and the overrun.
That overrun isn't really helping them anymore, is it?
No, it's hurting them. And again, they usually keep key stuff for there. I mean, this is Swerve and Danielson, and no one stayed for it. 690,000 viewers is the true number.
Without the quarter one and the overrun, that's what is in the body of the show.
Without the minute of Big Bang Theory that weighs the first quarter up every single week, and has since the beginning. And
also there's some, crossover amongst people who might not want to change the channel, but it never lasts. And
I see a lot of commercials for Dynamite on TV. If I'm watching like the news, I've seen it on CNBC. I've seen it all over the place. And I just don't think it's effective. Again, to the general public, just selling people flying through the air and talking about the greatest people wrestling there means nothing. It's personality. And everyone's personality fucking stinks on this show.
Well, you can advertise all you want. Hey, free shit. It's fucking manure. It stinks and an animal crapped it out of its ass, but it's free. All you got to do is go pick it up. That doesn't mean that a lot of people are going to go goddamn scoop some up.
Well, those were the ratings. Feel free to scoop that up.
He's got some troubles, doesn't he, Tony, with the big announcement that he has made in our time travels, and he's got more to worry about now than the ratings, trying to fill up a stadium.
Well, let's talk about it, Jim, and we're going to preview AEW All In London shortly, but I guess now we're talking about next year. AEW, while we have been recording, have had a press conference, and they put out this official press release I have here. For immediate release, Globe Life Field in Arlington to host AEW All In Texas 2025, the first AEW pay-per-view to ever be held in Texas.
Wow.
Is that a big deal now? Like everywhere you go, like this is the first pay-per-view in Des Moines.
Because they've been in Arlington several times already, and they're going back for more with that residency. And
you have to wonder if one deal's not tied to the other at this point.
Well, and probably is. But here's the thing. Obviously, they realize they can't risk Wembley again, because what if they come back next year? First they did 80,000. Now this year they're going to do 50,000. If they came back next year and did 20,000, they'd look like fucking idiots. But he's trying to do something to kind of blunt or mute the idea that they're not going to do Wembley. They said, we're going to go back to London in 2026. To London. He didn't say Wembley. But yes, they may get a ton of publicity, and I'm sure they'll have every living Von Erich there. But the bloom is off the rose, because the reason Wembley last year was a phenomenon was for all the reasons we talked about. They announced it a year out. 2 years ago, they were in way better shape, but also in a country, a continent starved for big shows, big pay-per-views, big events because of the time difference and Vince not wanting to do things like that, like the WWE hierarchy is now, going internationally. And even if they were, they got WWE house shows, but they'd never seen AEW. And Wembley Stadium, what they thought was a once-in-a-lifetime thing. It was the perfect storm. Then this year, the folks in the UK are very, it's the word I'm searching for, understanding. When they buy tickets and the product is half of what it was last year, when they bought all the fucking tickets, they're still going to, I'm sure, love it. But it's going down every time. The idea of coming to, they've not only had multiple pay-per-views from the United States, all of them, almost all of them, but they've also been in Texas a bunch of times. And the WWE's all over the place. This country is not starved for wrestling events. And you look at Arthur Ashe Stadium. The first year they ran it, they did 20,000 people, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Okay, and then last year, 2023, last year, they did 11,263, according to our friend at WrestleNomics.
And I believe that was a surprise, right? Wasn't there a surprise big walk-up for that event?
Yes, because it wasn't looking that good. And now, this year, on September 20th, so far they have distributed 3,548 tickets, but the building is set up for 4,800. They've set up a 20,000 seat stadium in New York for 4,800 people. What are they going to do with a 40,000 seat stadium in Dallas, Texas?
And again, by the time they return to London, wherever that may be in 2026, is the WWE going to have their deal with London? Because that's part of the story here. WWE, there were photos of Paul Levesque, Nick Khan, and the mayor of London. He was going after them. It wasn't the other way around. Arlington's going to have AEW. They already have this relationship. There'll be a series of events they announced around All In. You got to think they're going to use this esports arena again. And they do these events with the idea people are going to fly in. And that raises another problem in terms of who you have and what you're going to do. The diminishing returns aren't just because the wrestling's coming back. It's because of what the wrestling is from year to year. The booking, the talent, the TV show, the interest in any of the storylines that you're putting on your TV show. It's declined year by year as everything has gotten worse and worse. Where are things going to be next year? And who's Tony going to fill up that show with? We were talking earlier about Vince's strategy of draining wrestling promoters of money. If you look at the classic wrestling wars of the past, and we did some comparisons to them way back in the beginning of AEW. Look at what happened in Montreal in 72. Look at the Georgia Wrestling War.
Indianapolis in 74.
Georgia got to a point, and Gunkel, where she couldn't get any more talent. And the fans had taken to one side more than the other. Tony has a very similar problem now with talent. He doesn't have to worry about running out of money like Aunt Gunkel did. But he has to worry about the talent he's going to have a year from now on that show. And the other thing is, for appearance's sake, we've seen year by year declines in attendance, and at times it's glaring. Where are things going to be next year? A year from then? I know you got to announce things in advance and everything, obviously, and you got to try to make things better, but you're not going to be able to make them better if Tony's running creative. Where's that TV show going to be in 1 year? And also, this stadium show they're announcing, July 12th, correct me if I'm wrong, unless they're not going to do Forbidden Door, and they probably shouldn't, because every year Forbidden Door eats up 2 months of TV where it kills the ratings.
Hey, that goddamn door is like a Waffle House. It's never even locked anymore.
But that's the worst TV usually of the entire year, the build up to Forbidden Door, where people just randomly start showing up on the show and the viewers start tuning out. That's going to be right before the build up to this event. So there's a lot of questions. It's very ambitious. The AEW had booked this 4 years ago. We'd be having a different conversation right now. But it's the state of AEW right now. And if you look at the talent today that was there 4 years ago, almost no one means as much now as they meant then.
Well, and it's part of a pattern that Tony has had time at this point to correct. In that the reason why that their crowds at TV look like piss holes in a snowbank is because they're running giant buildings that they can't put people in. And we've been talking about it for months and months and months. Yes, you have to book arenas way in advance, but goddamn, a year and a half at this point. One more statistic, and we'll talk about his upcoming
Well, you heard
You know,
the rumor that came out like a day or two before this announcement that it may still be coming because Tony has indicated he has a series of big announcements to come, is that AEW may be running a stadium in Australia, which
I
could
didn't
go
even know they
either
had
way.
a stadium in Australia.
It could go either way. It could be a rabid fan base that just wants wrestling in a stadium in Australia, or it could be a complete disaster. So that'll be very interesting.
What is the major population center in Australia?
Oh, I'm not an expert in Australian.
Well, I mean, would be
City.
Melbourne? Would that be?
I would think that would be one of them, if not the one. Yes.
So, how many people? Google how many people in Melbourne, Australia?
Hold on.
Because it ain't easy, even like in the United Kingdom. You can come over from Scotland and France and Germany and Ireland and all those, they're all right there. There's no such thing as driving a long distance in the United Kingdom.
Melbourne's population is 5.2 million. It's number 2 behind Sydney.
Sydney. Forgot about Sid.
5.4.
So they've got stadiums.
Yeah.
The question is,
They've got rugby.
Do they have enough people in the country of Australia, and what is the television exposure for AEW like, that they would draw 20 or 30,000 people to a stadium event to make it look respectable? There's people there, but are they motivated?
Despite the realities of AEW, you know, Tony never gives in to reality. Every statement he gives, everything is great, everything's positive, it's the best they've ever done. That's not just to the public, that's to everyone. Is there a chance, considering what WWE is doing, certainly not for that amount of money, but could AEW be swept into that wave of, on a smaller scale, being able to get money from cities and towns and states, whatever it may be, countries, Australia, to run these shows like a sold show?
Well, now, sooner or later, even a blind squirrel finds a nut. I'm not going to say it's not possible. It's not impossible for them to get money from a tourism or whatever, but you would have to think that would be a state or a city or a municipality or whatever that was not doing their due diligence and looking at, oh yeah, they drew 50,000 people in Wembley Stadium, but they drew 2,200 people in New York City or whatever. It's not a sure thing with AEW that there's going to be a mass turnout in a stadium. Because here's the other statistic that I was going to tell you. Rupp Arena, Lexington, Kentucky, on September 11th, they have distributed 1,385 tickets. Now, that is 4 weeks away, or approximately. However, they've set the building up for 3,300 people. And I believe that we have mentioned before that Rupp Arena holds 23,000 for basketball. So why are you running a 23,000 seat arena if you're setting it up for 3,300 and can't fill that? And the last time they ran it last August, they drew 3,200 people. Don't run Lexington. I mean, what the fuck is going on here?
I don't know. And again, it's tough to see the road to turning things around as things are currently situated in AEW. Jim, why don't we preview AEW All In London?
I'm all in on that. I got paper right here.
All in London, which takes place August 25th, 2024 at Wembley Stadium. It's the second edition of All In London following last year's record-breaking event. Let's go to the card. This one.
Well, now, wait a minute. This can't be the whole card because they're still setting matches up because it's goddamn, just a little over a week away. They got plenty of time to add 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 matches, right?
And let me go to the official AEW website to see what they have. I'm on Wikipedia because I've learned they usually have more than AEW's website. I'll just keep this up here in case there's anything they don't have. Jim, apparently this will be on the pre-show. We may have to watch this one.
Uh-oh.
Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway versus Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii.
Oh, good Lord. Oh,
How the fuck did that get booked?
What the fuck? And has Stokely ever wrestled, but he's still going to be better than Ishii?
Had this match happened?
Poor Stokely. He's the one I found. Well, wait a minute. Now AEW, when they do a mixed tag, can the men and the women beat each other up? It's just in WWE they can't, or does AEW do that also?
I don't know. I mean, can you see Ishii chopping Statlander? I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. I'm thinking I want to have sympathy for Statlander, too. Whoever's got to work with that goddamn Japanese baked potato with arms and legs, I have sympathy for. But what the...
With that said, and what you're just talking about, does Willow have to get her hands on Stokely?
God, I don't know what the fuck is going on there. Because Stokely's the smallest person in the goddamn match to begin with. Both the girls are bigger than him, too, so it looks like he's going to be taking a lot of bumps that night.
Well, Jim, the next match for the AEW Women's World Championship, Timeless Toni Storm, the champion, versus the Glamour, Mariah May.
Oh, good Lord. I bet Mitsu Arakawa's going to hit the ring and they're going to have a fucking three-way, and then they're going to bring an X-ray machine in, and the girl that has the biggest fur ball in her stomach is the winner.
Who do you predict the winner will be?
It's probably going to be Maria May. She looks like she'll give you a tongue bath in a heartbeat.
Okay, I don't know what road you're going down, but
I was talking about the biggest fur ball contest. I don't care who wins the wrestling match.
Well, Jim, speaking of fur balls, a last chance match for the FTW Championship. If Hook loses, he can never challenge for the FTW Championship for as long as Jericho is champion. Chris Jericho, the champion, versus Hook.
Oh, good Lord. I mean, like, it's a made-up belt, and they've got so many made-up belts. Who gives a shit? And the stipulation, who gives a shit? But it probably... Jericho, being a smart politician, will have somewhere or another one of his guys fuck him up somehow so Hook wins to give the people what they want, to coin a phrase. And
does Taz have to choke out Jericho for this to end, for the payoff?
I don't want Taz to do that, because then Taz might get some on him. You know, keep Taz out of this whole fucking fiasco.
Jim, in a casino gauntlet match for a guaranteed future AEW World Championship match, it'll be Orange Cassidy versus opponents to be determined.
So wait a minute, the gauntlet, that's like a battle royal, right? Or a Royal Rumble type of thing? Or are there only 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 people in it, or are there 20?
I think it's one of those things where it starts with a couple people and then people just enter and then they're in the match. Everything's casino this and casino that. Well, I don't know why. They're in London. But anyway.
And Tony never even, it's like, you know, he never even had the fun of having a gambling problem to orient everything around the casinos and the all in and all out and double or nothing and place your bets and craps, boxcars, big bennies.
All right. Well, we can't predict a match we don't know the opponents of, but let's go to the next one. For the AEW team.
Oh, Pockets will win. Pockets can't get beat. He's invulnerable.
Jim, the next match for the TBS Championship. The champion, Mercedes Moné, with Camille
Hassenpfeffer?
Blowing My Inheritance Incorporated, versus Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
You know, this one is interesting because you wouldn't imagine that you would want to beat Dr. Britt on her first big time back in this issue, but at the same point, are they ready to acknowledge that they have made a massive fuck up in giving this fucking girl, Mercedes, any money whatsoever because she stunk the joint out?
And apparently her writer, Alexandra Pepperday, or whatever her name is, did an interview we'll talk more about on the experience where she talked about the relationship and the brilliance of the writing for the women's division.
Oh boy, oh yeah, I'm telling you, it is goddamn Oscar Wilde would be proud.
You know, a lot of fans were guessing, and I was even thinking this too, that with Camille with Mercedes, Britt Baker is going to need backup. They're in London. Perfect time for the return of Jamie Hayter. However, word has now come out, apparently, as reported by Sean Ross Sapp, that since before she was injured, Britt Baker had a major falling out with Jamie Hayter in real life, and they don't want to work together.
Oh, good Lord.
Which is why we never got we got like a weird breakup without a breakup, if you remember. Like there was no match. It was just all of a sudden they were doing different things. Because Jamie Hayter would have fucking killed her.
Because Jamie Hayter hates her.
Yeah, she's a hater. Well, who do you think will win, Mercedes versus Britt?
I don't see why they'd beat Britt. People actually like Britt. But since Mercedes has her own script writer, maybe they've figured out some way to con Tony out of some more fucking valuable television time and effort.
Do you think
so? Mercedes retains.
Is Mercedes more valuable dancing with the belt or chasing the belt?
Mercedes would be more valuable getting dollar bills stuck in her garter belt than anything that she can do on a professional wrestling program.
All right, there's words to live by. Let's go to our next one here, Jim. The next match, this one, a tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. The Young Bucks versus FTR versus the Acclaimed.
Well, wait a minute. Are they saying that already?
Wikipedia is. AEW is not officially.
Okay, so we need to tune into Wikipedia for the spoilers on this. So they are going to fuck up maybe the only good quality match that the Young Bucks might have this year and make it a three-way to make it harder for FTR to steer the ship in any kind of meaningful way.
It doesn't matter. The tag team division's dead. It just doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, but at least it might have been palatable to watch. But now we can save some time because this fucking fiasco will go on for hours and hours. So, yeah, three-way. Who gives a shit? Probably the Buckaroos will retain in some nefarious fashion.
They should just change the tag team titles to the it just doesn't matter championship. Jim, for the TNT championship, in a coffin match, the champion Jack Perry, Taco Bell Jack Perry, versus Darby Allin.
The first time in history, as I mentioned earlier in the program, where they have a professional wrestling match between two grown adults with a combined weight of under 300 pounds. Once again, you would think that on the big show in a coffin match, Darby would have to win, but since Tony books backwards and the nuclear war comes before the goddamn minor border skirmish, maybe Perry will fucking take it.
We have two more matches, Jim.
Oh, good heavens.
For the AEW American Championship, the champion...
What the fuck did England ever do to us to deserve this kind of treatment?
For the AEW American Championship, the champion MJF versus Will Ospreay.
Thank God they're going to have that, because at least we'll enjoy. See what I did there? A little pun. We will enjoy watching it more than anything else on this journey through hysteria. And I mean, again, I don't know why that it's come to this in this fashion, to where that MJF has just returned and switched heel, but now you got to beat him. But you have to beat him because it's fucking Ospreay's home country, and that's the most important match, and you don't want the people to go home any more unhappy than they're already going to be. And some people will say, well, MJF beat him in the first one or whatever the fuck. Well, this could have easily been done in a lot. They had a year. They had a year advance notice they were going to do this show. Something else could have been done. But Tony, you do you.
Who do you think's going to win?
Ospreay. He goddamn better.
I think it'll be MJF with Kyle Fletcher interfering.
Well, and then some people will probably set the fucking seats on fire or ask for their money back at that point, because the rest of the show is going to suck.
Well,
And then their boy don't win.
We have one more match. It may not suck. Title versus career for the AEW World Championship. The champion Swerve Strickland with Prince Nana of Queens versus Bryan Danielson.
And we talked about this earlier. They worked themselves into a corner where they either Bryan Danielson loses and never wrestles anywhere ever again, or he's a liar, or Bryan Danielson wins and they've got a part-time world champion and then he has to come back in anticlimactic fashion and lose it to somebody else. And I don't know why this match is fucking happening. Otherwise than Tony's a mark. And
what match do you put on last, and who do you think is going to win this match?
Ospreay and MJF need to go on last because it is the draw of the fucking thing, if there is one. And we'll have the most interest because of Ospreay. And at this point, I bet Danielson's probably going to win the thing. Because, and if Danielson doesn't win the thing, Ospreay better. Because then in your two main events, you've got the people being pissed off in both finishes. I would put MJ. I won't say I would do anything. I wouldn't be having these specific matches with these specific stipulations and setups. But I would put MJF and Ospreay on last, and Ospreay would win. And then at least people would be happy. And yes, Danielson and Swerve probably be a good match. But it's not going to have the emotion of Ospreay is new. He's young. He's just got there. And he's their home son. Even if it's Bryan Danielson, if they react more to him than they do to Ospreay right now, the company's in trouble. Because the other guy's 40-something years old with brain damage and about to retire.
If Ospreay's not going to win, though, would you have him go on last?
If he's not going to win, well, if he's not going to win, you might want him to go on last so they don't set fire to the fucking stadium and prevent the rest of the matches. What? I don't know what the fuck's going on here.
Well, that seems like a great way to sum it up. AEW All In London. We'll be reviewing it on the show next week. Jim, I have an announcement that has been put out by the Fulham Football Club. AEW announced as Fulham Women Front of Shirt Partner.
What? Wait, what?
AEW announced as Fulham Women Front of Shirt Partner. I shall continue.
I wish you would.
Fulham Football Club is delighted to announce a new partnership with All Elite Wrestling, AEW, professional wrestling's first true mainstream competitor in more than 2 decades, responsible for revitalizing the industry.
Oh my God.
With a renewed emphasis on creative spirit and in-ring athleticism.
Holy shit.
The partnership will see the AEW logo adorned.
But wait a minute, isn't this the fucking football team that the Khans own?
That is correct. The partnership will see the AEW logo adorn Fulham women's shirts during the 24-25 season and reflects AEW's commitment to progressing women's sport.
The Fulham women are a team of some description.
Yeah, they are.
I thought they were trying to put AEW fucking stars on the front of women's t-shirts in the city of Fulham.
The collaboration has been founded off a shared passion for entertainment and sport on the global stage, driven by both organizations' mission to foster a safe, inclusive, and welcoming environment for its fans and athletes. Aligned with Premier League's Family Club.
It's safe, it's inclusive, and it's welcoming. It's just not nearly full.
AEW attracts all age ranges and particularly appeals to a younger demographic, families with children. Their talent portfolio sees...
Wait a minute! When have you looked in the crowd at a TV taping and seen families with children?
AEW, not too... It doesn't stand out that I've seen that recently at any time, no. Their talent portfolio sees equal representation across all gender profiles. Alongside their...
What is a goddamn gender profile?
Alongside their support.
They're just adding words now to this thing that aren't necessary.
Alongside.
Like it's rain event. It's a rain event.
Alongside their support of Fulham women, fans can expect to see AEW's brand presence on a match day.
Brand presence.
And throughout the stadium. Tony Khan, director of football at Fulham, said, "Both Fulham Football Club and All Elite Wrestling hold a special place in my heart. And the partnership established here represents not only an elevation of both organizations on the global stage, but also a reminder of our investment and commitment to furthering women's creative and athletic endeavors at all levels. Come on, Fulham!"
Wait, on the global stage, putting pictures on the front of a fucking shirt? And this is going to raise people's profile on the global stage?
Well, what I don't understand, what I don't know, because I don't know how they do things over there in the Premier League, if they have sponsorships on the jerseys, on the shirts, usually the sponsors would pay for that, I would think. Does this mean either AEW is using some of their budget to go to the other Khan family interest, or is this gratis and they don't have any paying sponsors?
Well, if there was any financial transaction being facilitated here, it would be from Shad Khan's left pocket to Shad Khan's right pocket, wouldn't it anyway? Does it make any difference?
Yeah, I mean, they're both owned by the same people. We have a big announcement of a big deal we're doing. It doesn't say both of them are owned by the same people until later on in the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like in the state of Louisiana, as soon as a guy gets elected governor, his brother-in-law has property sold to the state to build a bridge. It doesn't matter whether the bridge goes anywhere, but that's the thing. It's from the left pocket to the right pocket. This means nothing to either the football or the wrestling, does it? In actual practice?
Can Tony move talent from back and forth? He's all about inclusion and promoting women's sports. Can, like, Britt Baker join the soccer club?
Only if she wants to get her fucking face kicked in, I bet.
Well, it's happened a few times, hasn't it?
Well, yeah, but they weren't really trying. It just happened. This time the other people would be trying. Can you imagine if, we're gonna put a professional wrestler on the team. She's never played any soccer before. Well, she did at the playground when she was 12, but it'll be great publicity. It'd be like bringing a soccer player into a wrestling match. All right, we'll fuck with this fucking guy, girl, whatever.
Well, that is the AEW news as we are recording, and we're going to wrap things up shortly.
Well, that's going to put a lot more people into Wembley Stadium once they see that logo on the shirt of the girl soccer player people.
Women specifically, not the men's team, the women's team.
Yes, I'm sure all the women's soccer fans over there are also loving professional wrestling.
Jim, one last thing, because a lot of people have been asking us to ask you, or asking me to ask you, I should say.
Well, then ask me.
Any thoughts on Bobby Lashley and MVP being gone from WWE?
Yeah, I just saw that the other day, that apparently they both expired. Is that the case?
Their contract, they are both living.
Yes, no, their contracts expired. They weren't fired. They weren't expunged or expulsed or whatever. But their contracts ran out. They were not happy that the Hurt Business was teased and then not put back together, as we all were unhappy, because that was what we wanted to see. And did they get caught up in the switch of the administration? Could they have gotten more what they wanted from this one, or was this the one that was the problem? Do we know that?
Well, I think if we go just based on what we've seen, it seemed like MVP specifically and Lashley were used better under Vince than under Triple H. I'm guessing they're not Triple H favorites.
Well, in that case, by cracky, Tony, for only $4 million a year, you can get both of them, I bet.
Let's make
maybe
that
$5 million.
Let's go. MVP's a great talker. Let's go to 6
let's
million.
make it 6. Let's make it 6.
I think that's fair. Plus
$6 million a year.
Our 20%.
Let's see. That would be 600. That'd be 1.2 million for 20%. So that'll work.
Yeah,
okay.
That works for me.
Yeah, I'll take a cut. just to get this deal done.
Let me ask you this. If Tony does sign them, and you would have to think that is someone he should be looking at, Bobby Lashley, with MVP, because MVP, like I said, is a great talker who wasn't utilized enough in WWE. Shelton Benjamin is also a free agent. Yeah, and he's not a kid anymore. Still in great shape, looks young. But do you bring it, if you're going to reunite Lashley and MVP, do you go for Shelton also?
I bet he won't go for any of them.
Really?
Because you sign Bobby Lashley in AEW. What is every match he's going to have a handicap match, or is he going to have to fucking try to fly around for these fucking midgets? And how many somersaults can he do? Who could he work with in that company that wouldn't just be visually repellent, but that could actually work a regular goddamn wrestling match with him past MJF at this point? And Shelton Benjamin, he would look like Andre the Giant on that roster next to quite a bit of the fucking talent, because Shelton's 6'2", 230-ish, maybe, whatever the fuck. So, and they're not indie darlings. None of the fucking rec center crowd are saying, oh, we wish we could see Bobby Lashley versus El Hijo del Fornicator.
They all own their names. You have that going for you.
Oh, yeah. I'm just saying, Bobby Lashley is too big a star. And literally, he's too big a star, and he's too big a fucking guy. I don't think that Tony would be smart enough to want to sign him or have anybody for him to work with that would in any way be palatable, that it wouldn't look like child abuse by a grown adult.
You can't use the Hurt Business. That is owned by WWE. What would you go for? Would you go for Pain Incorporated? What would you go for? The Corporation of Public Pain.
I would go for the raw nerve. The raw nerve of you. Get right to the fucking raw nerve. Now, I mean, we'll see, but I don't, there's, again, it's a shame because there's a dozen people that you would think of that Bobby Lashley could have a program with right now in the WWE, and I can't think of anybody that would be meaningful for him to work with in AEW or wouldn't look ridiculous.
Adam Copeland.
Okay, one. But his leg is broken.
That's true. Shit.
And he's 50, and he jumped 25 feet. So how long is that going to take to heal?
Yeah, I don't know.
He's at Tony's motion picture country home for wrestlers now.
It seems like it takes people a lot longer to heal under Tony than it does under WWE, doesn't it?
Well, that's true because they got more stringent medical procedures, right? You got to be completely cleared.
Although there are now rumors that AEW may extend Rey Fenix's contract another year due to time off for injury.
Oh! Well, that ain't going to get over with the boys because that's very businesslike. Yeah, see, that could fuck up the Lucha Brothers to WWE rumors.
Well, Jim, as we begin to wrap things up, maybe you're someone being fucked around with and you need to sue. Let me play this. It'll count as one of the song submissions. This was sent in. I have his real name here. Burt Backabreaker, which is not his real name, but we'll use that because it's clever. Here's his submission.
Got a pain in your ass and you wanted to leave. Call 877-50-STEVE. Litigation skills that you wouldn't believe. Call 877-50-STEVE. Lawyer, call 877-50-STEVE.
All right, well, that was a different kind of feel today.
Wow, a little day in the life chord on the out there. But I'll tell you what, I echo the sentiment that if you've got a pain in your ass that you would like to leave, but before it leaves, it deposits a large sum of currency in your rectum, then you indeed need to call 877-50-STEVE, the incredible, the incomparable, the invincible, the invulnerable, Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com. If somebody is messing with you in your life, he will hop on them. He will bare his fangs and he will chew on them like an alligator muff diving a hummingbird. And he will get you what you deserve, or elsewise the person on the other end of that self-same muff diving chewing will have nothing to begin with, and he'll make sure that he's got even less when he gets rid of him or gets finished with him. You know what I'm saying.
No, don't incriminate me with whatever you're saying.
Well,
please.
If there's something to get, if there's something to get, he'll get it. And if there's nothing to get, he'll break that son of a bitch so he'll never have anything again.
Metaphorically speaking.
Metaphorically speaking. Whatever the metaphor may be for that. He'll fuck a son of a bitch up.
Metaphysically speaking.
Well, with a baseball bat or a nightstick also. Stephen P. New at newlawoffice.com, 877-50-STEVE. Hang.
All right, well, as we're getting out of here, let's play one song because submissions have started coming in again. Of course, you could send your parody song submission or something specifically about this show, CornyDriveThru@gmail.com.
And you're going to start playing them again, actually.
This one was sent. Is this the guy that sent an email, like, starting a fight with me the other day? Marvin from Vegas?
It may very well be, because, they shot Marvin in the fucking face.
This is a new song written for the Drive-Thru by Marvin and the Earthlings, titled Tony the Tiger. Let's go to this.
Tony Khan, at one point things were looking bright. AEW and success like two ships passing in the night. Setbacks, but you say it's great. You lowered the bar and that's lowered the gate. Great, it's so great. Don't matter how much hot air it's gonna deflate. It's great, yeah, everything's fine. Running out of money, get daddy on the line. Money flows, but the ratings start to dip low. Camera angle sides of the room we can't show. With that look on your face, looking lost in space. You got something on your nose, what's that from Frosted Flakes? Great, it's so great. Don't matter how much hot air it's gonna deflate. It's great, yeah, everything's fine. Running out of money, get daddy on the line. Critics howl, vultures hover in a row. Yeah, you shout, great, let the record show. But if the next rights deal isn't what we think, we can wrestle on the Jera Cruise, we're never gonna sink. Tony Khan, we know who we wrestle for. A man who's done this for 20 years on different message boards. We got a message for all those who wanna hate. Great.
Wow.
Woo!
That was one of the best song submissions we've ever had.
I was boogieing over here, Brian. Yeah, we ought to have video, but we shouldn't have, because this tape would be living on the internet forever of me just doing the break dancing thing here in my chair. That way, I wish my sound effect machine worked so I could applaud. I'll applaud. Can you hear me clapping? I don't even know if you can hear me doing that.
Nope.
I was clapping.
Can't hear it.
God damn it. If anybody's listening this clip as a standalone, refer to the earlier part of the fucking podcast. You'll understand what the fuck we're talking about.
Jim has no hands.
No, I'm clapping, but you can't hear it because of this mysterious audio situation. How about if I ball up my notes. Can you hear that?
Oh, I heard that.
Well,
I don't know. Whatever
well,
you're doing now, I don't hear anything. But
that's because I'm not doing anything. It's your show.
That song was great.
Marvin, that was great.
Marvin and the Earthlings, Tony the Tiger. We're not going to top that today. So with that, the drive-thru is closed. Shit. Where's... Here we go.
See, I hear your sound effects just plain as day, but I just dinged. You didn't hear it, did you?
There's something you're not telling me. Like, you took a pole and beat the computer, or...
Oh, come on.
Threw the computer against the wall and kicked it, or... I don't know what.
I'm just dinging all over the place here, and nobody's hearing me.
No one's hearing it, but they'll hear this. Of course, you'll hear more on the Jim Cornette Experience, wherever you find your favorite podcast. And, of course, next week here on the Drive-Thru, a lot of reviews coming up. Stay tuned. Big shows also. Some omnibuses on the way very soon, so stay tuned for that. Of course, go through the archive, patreon.com/Cornette. Get access to shows going back to 2013, the very beginning. Patreon.com/Cornette. The official YouTube channel, just go to YouTube and search for Jim Cornette. It'll come right up. Full episodes, clips of the episodes, omnibus collections, all with the very popular Travis Heckel artwork. The official Jim Cornette YouTube channel. Cornette's Collectibles at JimCornette.com. What's going on, Jim?
Everything is great. And it's time for me to announce in more details in the coming weeks, but the big holiday sale, including the final ever Jim Cornette action figure variant, starts on Saturday, October 5th at noon Eastern. We're going to have an old favorite product returning after a few years. We're going to have the new variant. We're going to have all kinds of stuff going on for October, November, and December for the Christmas season. JimCornette.com. But shit is still on sale right now. But more shit is coming.
That's right. And of course, you can follow Jim on Twitter at @TheJimCornette. You can follow me on Twitter at GreatBrianLast. Listen to the wrestling news every day, thewrestlingnews.com, or wherever you find your favorite podcast. Look for Arcadian Vanguard's The Wrestling News. And what else? Oh, the drive-thru is brought to you by the law office of Stephen P. New. He is great. 877-50-STEVE. Go to newlawoffice.com. Get even with Stephen. But until whenever, in a few days on The Experience, and next week right back here on the drive-thru, for Jim Cornette, I'm the great Brian Last. Tally-ho!
Great.